with no
Awesome.
planning whatsoever, really.
No, no. The opportunity arose, and I've been pushing this off for so long. So much shit got in the way, but finally, I've been looking forward to this for a long time now.
Me as well, my friend. Yeah, and it's been just live stream after live stream for me this week for whatever reason. And could argue it's a new week, but still, it's a lot of live streams in a row. But I'm happy to do them because they're fun. And yeah, we've been sort of harping on this meaning thing. And I know we left off in our last conversation about, hey, let's talk about the intersection of music and meaning.
Yeah.
And it all seems to be coming together, which is exactly what we're going to be talking about anyway. With the Symbolic World Summit 2, and with my talk with Neil, who actually just, sort of went over lyrics. So it's like, wait a minute. I mean, I understand what we're doing, but man, that was cool. So yeah, well, how did you want to start talking about the intersection of music and meaning? What does that mean to you? How do you parse that?
I would actually like to start off with a question for you,
Okay.
so we can set this right. Because we've had private conversations, especially around the summit, right? And the thing that you kept mentioning also at that stream that we did with Derek and a bunch of the other people, it's still to be released, right?
It hasn't been released yet. I talked to Derek on Friday. He hasn't released it yet.
So what you mentioned a few times was that you're more focused on the meaning crisis than you are on like the let's say the faith crisis, is the way that you phrased it. And I want to get because for me those are very, very much connected, almost the same thing. So I kind of want to hear, what is your understanding of the meaning crisis? How does it differ from, let's say, the faith crisis that Jonathan and so on and so forth are looking into more?
Okay. No, excellent question. I love it. Yeah. So we're dividing things into crisis of faith versus meaning crisis, with the difference basically being, at a high level, did you go to church as a kid or not?
Mm-hmm.
And to differentiate that more, give it a little bit more detail, because it deserves a little bit more detail. And there's a bunch of literature to back this up by a woman named Dale Farron, who did and I read, I don't know if she wrote the article or somebody else did, but I read this article an awful long, like 15 years ago. And I was like, oh, this makes total sense. And, put it in the back of my head, it's 15 years ago, put it in my back of my head, who cares? But it had an impact on me in terms of, yeah, this sounds right. I'll make sure I remember that there's, a scholarship on this. And this is wrapped up in our, evaluation or recapitulation of Dr. John Vervaeke's 4 P's of knowing, which are just 4 P's of information, by the way. I'm just going to tell you right now. So we've got one of the P's we replaced with poetic information, and it's the engagement with the poetic information that would enable you to understand symbolism. And so what Dale Farron found in her research is that if you are put behind a desk, right, and you're given papers to read and quizzes to do and, whatever, too early in your development as a child, your outcomes are terrible across everything you can possibly measure. Okay, so let's go back. So people who haven't been to church, who weren't forced to go to church as children, and such as myself, by the way, so we're not out in space here, we're talking about real people, they have a different set of problems. And then that they split into 2 categories, right? So category number 1 would be people who went to school too early. Maybe they went to pre-kindergarten and were put behind a desk or given structured learning, I think is what she called it. I might be misremembering that. Right? Structured learning, no good, no bueno. No symbolism, no appreciation of poetry. It's not they don't like music or they can't interface with music, but also they probably don't see the depth of the music they're listening to. And I'll say how that affects me, because that's actually not me. I'm in the second category, right? I went to Boy Scouts, I went to 4-H club, which is a nature thing, right? Um, I did, did summer camps, right? I was outside a lot, just in nature doing things. Yeah, usually jamming up water in the rain, and seeing how water flows. I'm actually a good hydraulic engineer somehow, from doing this for years. Got in a lot of trouble for flooding parking lots. Oh well. Uh, Things happen. Um, and spent a lot of time at the ocean because the family has a beach house, right? And with tides, big tides at the beach house. So I'm used to all these changes and these things and these flow and that stuff. But I still never went to church.
Mhm.
So I'm in this weird, and I'm not the only one or anything, but I'm in this weird situation where, when Jonathan Joe talks about symbolism, I'm like, oh, yeah, it makes all the sense. I get it, right? When the people from the John Vervaeke, Discord server that we were working with back in the day, listen to Jonathan Peugeot, I think he's kind of nutty and they don't understand what he's saying. And I'm like, this makes sense, right? It makes sense. They don't understand it. And then if you don't understand symbolism and you go to church, you're not going to stand. You're going to be like, I don't, there's nothing for you there to grab onto. And so part of the thesis, not the whole thesis, but part of the thesis is that in order for you to grab onto any one of the handle, like I get it, there's 1,000 handles in the church, right? There's 1,000, at least you go, maybe more, maybe millions. I don't know. I know I can't see them all. I know that. I don't know how many there are. I know how many I can see, right? For people to grab onto, they can't grab onto them. These people cannot grab onto them. They don't see them, and if they saw them, they wouldn't know how to interface with them. They have no idea how to do it. It's almost like looking at a fuzzy camera. Uh, it's fortuitous that happened that way, sir.
Fair.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, look at this. Excellent.
Awesome.
I'm so happy. So that is the difference, right? And then what I think happens is I think that for a number of people, I don't know how many, what percentage. I'm not, I'm not doing this in a scholarly way. I could care less about scholarship. Um, Mainly because when you do scholarship, scholars won't listen to you anyway. They just lie about it. Just anyway, if you don't believe me, look at the fake news virus scamdemic, where they just ignored all of the white papers ever written on mask usage, and then
Yeah.
we'll talk about whether or not they actually believe what they claim. Heretics, science heretics. So some people slide back right once they leave the church and they're no longer embedded in the symbolism and they're surrounded by this materialism and it's just relentless, right? It's pounding. And I think Neil actually himself mentioned this. It's just pounding. Like you just can't escape the materialist view of the world. It's everywhere. Because it's a frame too, right? So it's a materialist framing to the world. I mean, it's just, I slip into it all the time. And so those crises of faith people being pounded by materialism kind of slide into the meaning crisis. And whether that's through the skepticism or just the desire to critique because they're smart, because those are two different conditions, right? Stupid people just get skeptical. Smart people get skeptical with a justification. That's what a critique is, right?
Yeah.
I'm skeptical, but I'm gonna pretend I'm smart, so I'm gonna give you a justification for why I'm skeptical. Thanks, you're still a jerk. I appreciate it. Right. So some of those people just slide into the meaning crisis. And now the crisis of faith tools, right? And I can generally point at kind of what crisis of faith tools look like. Evangelism, right? Those tools don't work on those people anymore. Right. And because you're out of practice with symbolism, like you're not getting your daily interaction with symbolism, you're probably not in nature. You're probably playing video games because everybody loves video games. I kind of like some video games too. You lose your ability. It's gone. And like any good skill, like we saw this during fake news virus scamdemic, right? Like even I fell prey to this. Went to a little football watching party at some friend's house, and they brought out some food. Totally forgot my manners. Completely gone. Oh, we have to eat first because they're hungry, and if they won't eat until we eat because we're guests. I know this. I knew it then. Did not do it right away. It took me quite a few minutes. Very embarrassing. Very sorry. Right. So like that, you lose your ability to symbolisms, right? You can't relate anymore. And I my suspicion, you're the expert here, not me, or maybe Neil will jump in. He can be the expert too. My suspicion is that these people don't understand music at depth, right? They either click onto the lyrics or they click onto something in the music, and we can talk about all the components of music, or at least you can. I can't. I can barely name 4 of them, I think. That enable them. And I think the real tragedy in that is that causes further splits, because the reason why you like something is not the same as the reason why somebody else likes the thing, and it's the same thing and it's music. Mm-hmm. That to me is really dangerous. That's because the one thing that music does that I don't think anybody talks about is basically music is a binding agent. It's an integrating agent. It's a way, like, because in order to even make music, you're bringing so many things together. I talked about components of music, right? There's a bunch of them, right? There's things like the rhythm. There's things like the rhyme. There's the harmony and the melody, and right on and on and on, right? And so it's the art of doing what we would call in secular land an integration, right? Mm-hmm. And when you're doing an integration, but you're getting different results, that's not good, right? That's not good. You don't want results that are, we'll say, too far from one another. Everyone's not going to get the same experience, over listening to a given song, right? But they're going to get close enough, right? And mm-hmm. So one set of songs I really like, and actually, so funny. Tool does this pretty well, but actually, A Perfect Circle, which is same front man, their songs about addiction, unbelievable. Weak and Powerless. Weak and Powerless is a fantastic song. Like, I understand Weak and Powerless at a level that people do not appreciate. Believe me, because I understand addiction. I don't have any alcohol or drug addictions, but man, this is something I fight with about pretty much anything, because I'm a glutton. So there's candy in the house, and it's just like, I gotta kind of find it. Oh yeah. Well, I got Jordan almonds. My birthday was Friday. I got Jordan almonds for my birthday. Girlfriend goes to a bunch of stores, finds my favorite type of Jordan almonds. They're almost gone. Like, I just get, there's only so. I have all the pink ones left, so I'll eat those maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow. We'll see. Yeah, I just can't. Like, I can't stop. I even just taking a shower. I love warm showers. I'll stay in a warm shower forever if I let myself. So I don't do that, right? Because this is not great. And I'm an extremist in general. Like, almost everything I do, because I have high stamina. Even when I'm sick, I have way higher stamina than your average bear, right? That's why I can't do it anymore, I'm sure. But I've done 8-hour live streams. I'm a crazy person, right? I go all in. When I do my research, I'm just researching, right? Like, when I do stuff, that's what I'm doing. I'm hyper focused. And that is the basis of the formation for addiction, right? They're not the same thing, but they're highly related. And so another song, A Perfect Circle, is called The Outsider. Another, just like, so one's about your addiction, the other's about somebody else's addiction, watching from the outside and being attached to them in some way, right? And it just, the way, or any of the Tool songs, like Sober's an excellent song, right? The way the music and the lyrics comes together to give you an image of addiction in those instances, right? Another one might be Master of Puppets by Metallica. Obviously, you can tell where my early genre advantage lies. This is what I was listening to. Still continue to some extent, right? Those are about addiction, and they're about addiction, and they're definitely about addiction. And even for Master of Puppets, wasn't always that way. In fact, I remember the day. I don't know why I remember the weird things that I remember, but I remember the day at my mother's table when I played Master of Puppets for her, and she goes, "Oh, it's about cocaine." And I was like, "What? What are you talking about cocaine?" No, it's just like, I'm a headbanger. Like, I don't. Are they saying something? Really? Oh yeah, they're saying puppets and master. It's great. It's fantastic. Yeah. No. And then it was like, oh, right. And then, and it's weird too, because like Led Zeppelin, yeah, I knew all the lyrics to all the Zeppelin songs, all of them. Of course I did. how do you, and that's a weird one too, right? When I was listening to the radio when I was really young, you'd hear these songs and I was like, oh, that's a classic rock song. Every single one of those songs I tagged as a classic rock song could not identify they were from the same band. It was all Led Zeppelin. But back then they would just play, whatever random Zeppelin out of order every once, they play it every day maybe, but, or maybe they do 4 Zeppelin songs a day on a radio station or something. That wasn't particularly unusual for the rock stations out in Boston, but I didn't know they were the same band. It didn't sound like the same band to me. Right. And so, and when you have that, and how many bands like that are there? There's Led Zeppelin, there's Pink Floyd, right? Those are the 2 big, right? I mean, they sell all the albums, right? You start reading about the history of Led Zeppelin and you find out that if Led Zeppelin, if Jimmy Page didn't release the Led Zeppelin music to the record companies to redo on CDs, we wouldn't have CDs. Right, because they were not going to be able to afford to release the classical music on CD because they wouldn't sell enough damn CDs, because CDs, you make it up in volume, right? They're very expensive to set up, but once they're set up, it's a press technology like a record is, right? And so now you can just keep printing them, and the more you print, the cheaper it gets, amortized over time. And so Led Zeppelin, and allegedly did the same thing with cassette tapes and all sorts of other things. Like that's how influential that band is in terms of music. That's how universal they are. But nowadays, the music landscape is fractured. I remember a few years ago when I went to Edinburgh, the woman I was with started listing all these bands. I hadn't heard of any one of them. And I was like, well, that's really weird. Like I'm not an expert in music or anything, but I have a really good memory. So if I hear about something, I'm generally, oh, okay. And none of them, they were all local to Edinburgh, Scotland. All of them. And I was like, how can you have that much local music? Like, what is going on over here, right? And then I've since kind of figured out what's going on over there, by the way. But it's not just a music thing either. But it was very surprising to me. And then I would list some of the popular stuff, like, well, because she'd play it for me, and I'd be like, oh, that sounds like blah, and I never heard of them. And I was like, what? Wait, what? How did you never hear of this? Like, that's insane. That's crazy. And some of it was what snobby American I would call European, in that genre, the European version of that genre, because they're very different, right? The European music moves over to American. The Americans, usually they destroy it. Sometimes they improve it, but mostly they wreck it.
I disagree, but keep going.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. No, I find, but usually the problem is the European stuff is flooded, and so it's hard to find the really good stuff, right? Because they get it first, so they have more of it. The people over here tend to pick and choose just the best, right? Yeah. And so I really like the refined sound from you get artists who are good at, like, it's not really first cuts, first release, and it's just really good, right? It's the same in software engineering, by the way. It's probably the same in all disciplines. I really like that, right? I don't like it's easier to see in rap, because rap is just barely music, maybe. Rap, a really good rap artist is actually good, but there's a lot of mediocre rap artists who are just good enough, but they're just not there, right? They're just not. Yeah, and the people who merge stuff, like Beastie Boys did a lot of merging of music. They merge music really well. Anthrax surprisingly did that really well too. They knew how to merge genres in a way that is just fantastic first time out. So you get some of this, but when you have a fractured thing, right? So you don't have this music even regionally anymore that means the same thing to the people there. That's dangerous. Anyway, I don't know. Is that a function of the music? Is it a function of the skill of the artists? Is this a result of a flood? I have no idea. I have no insight. I have to go spend like 4 months in Europe to even think about figuring it out. My time's probably better spent doing other things, because I have people like you to get on that side of it with, since you live there. So Sorry. I hope that explained everything. And now we can just end the live stream whenever you're ready.
Yeah, it was nice meeting everybody, and I'll see you in the next one.
Hey, you wanted to do this last minute. No warning. This is what you're gonna get.
No, I mean, I mean that was very interesting and insightful. I think that we kind of need to. I think you kind of need to bring it back to my initial question in 3 sentences, though. So that was, where do you see the difference between meaning crisis and faith crisis? With all that baggage that we now have here, how do you connect that back?
It's exposure to church.
Mhm.
That's the main,
Yeah.
right? And then the meaning for the people who are in a crisis of faith and slid into a meaning crisis and didn't start there, because I started there. That is all about the loss of the poetic ability to inform the world. And so they can't easily get back in now, right? It's like, oh, we're familiar with church, but we're skeptical about it. We no longer see the connections that it's making, the poetic connections that are being made in church. So we no longer have access to those church handles. So if you tell them to just go to church, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Even though they've been. Like, you tell me to go to church, it's not going to work because I've never been. And I'm like, but I don't even know what's going on. What's happening? I don't understand why any of this is happening, right? You can explain it, we'll say propositionally or theologically or whatever, using propositions all day long, but it doesn't move people. I know people think it does, but actually, no.
I was surprised by that, though, when we recorded like last week and you said that you weren't Catholic. I was convinced you were Catholic. We had conversations where you were like pushing for the papacy. What's that?
Well, I will argue and piss everybody off right now. If you did the math, if you did the homework, if you just took the materialist frame, you don't need another frame. You just take the materialist frame. Catholicism wins, bang, right away. And the reason why, of course you're going to say that. And the reason why is because even though, and of course the Orthodox are almost perfectly correct for sure. Even though they have a sense of hierarchy, I think the depth of the hierarchy matters, and I can point to reasons where that's evident, right? But on a larger scale, that is actually not as important as the fact that I used to call it Anglo-Cathodoxy, and then the Anglicans decided to single-handedly, in a single move, destroy Anglicanism forever. It was really quite remarkable. So it's now Cathodoxy. Cathodoxy is a thing. Like, it's distinctive from what people call Protestantism, which I think is misnamed. It's actually Gnostic, heretical, pagan cults, many of which are formed around this guy named Hippie Jesus. I don't know. I've been saying this for some time. I know.
Just be vaguely nice. Yeah.
Pastor Paul Vanderklay liked it. And, there's some notable quick and easy differences, right? Like, so the big difference between, we'll say, Cathodoxy and everybody else is Mary. Bang, done, right? Like, that's a big dividing line, right? Because you have 2 archetypes, one for male, one for female, versus one archetype. And isn't that weird that, I mean, that's a difference, right? That's obviously a difference, right? But there are other important differences, like hierarchy, right? And so the way hierarchy is dealt with the Orthodox and the Catholics does not resemble anything with the Protestants, in that you can argue that they have, we'll say, the same size and maybe the same depth of hierarchy in some Protestant denominations, although I don't think so. It changes too fast. Like, those guys are the least stable hierarchies on the planet. They come and they go. I would actually just watching a video about Lutheranism that I finished 5 minutes before we went live. And I was just like, this is the most confused 20-minute history of anything I've ever seen. And he's using a map and like, blah, 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 and it's flashy because he's like, and then they form this synod, and then this synod breaks up into 5 synods, and then it combines into 3 synods. And oh, by the way, mustache dictator guy. And I was like, wait, excuse me, what? As I went and listened to that one again, because I was like, I've never heard this. That's completely fascinating. Didn't know about that connection. But there is a connection. So I knew there was a religious connection somewhere. Now I know where it is. I can do research on it. So I think when you divide we'll say the quote religious world up that way, things become different. So one frame you can look at really quickly is to say the Protestants are out there scrambling and trying to fix evangelism for themselves, because it's obviously hasn't been working for quite some time. Not because this is the story they tell themselves, and this is the story they believe. Not because they're fighting the new atheists. That's not what's happening at all. It's because their churches are losing people, and they want to believe it's the new atheists that are taking them, when in fact that hasn't been true forever. The churches that are growing are the Catholic churches. Those are the churches that are gaining people right now. And we can argue about which one's gaining more, but who cares? Because I just Cathodoxy forever, right? Yeah. See, this is why we can't be friends. This is why we just can't get together. You, no one else. Yeah. So for me, Cathodoxy for the win, right? I'm just fine. Like, we gotta, and there's no substitute. So you can't say like, oh no, I'll go to a Lutheran church, or I'll go to an Anglican church, or I'll go. No, they're not gonna work. And I, like I said, I have my reasons. I have my reasons for not only sheer observation, but just, man, if you plug it into a model, you're gonna see exactly why this wouldn't work. And if I cared, which I don't, I could simulate it on the computer in 2 seconds, and you'd see it. You'd be like, oh wow, oh yeah, these systems are unstable mathematically. Yeah, they are. You need a stable mathematical system, which puts me in an awkward position, because one of my arguments, and almost nobody does this that I can tell, maybe Peterson, I don't know. If you just follow materialism out, if you're actually smart enough to do that, you'll end up walking into a Catholic church. I'm sorry, but you definitely will. It's just most people either don't or can't do the work. It's a lot of work. Which is another way of, I don't care. I materialism way better than most people. You guys suck at it. That's why you haven't hit the end of it. Like, if you were any good at all, you'd have figured it out by now. This is disgusting. And they want to, we're thinkers. I don't know about that. I mean, there's something, but thinking ain't it. How's that?
That's like 3 new podcast topics.
I know. Well, you're getting me in trouble here. See what happens when you catch me on a Sunday? You wanted last year.
So you're not committed to anything, are you? Officially?
No, not in that way. There are other reasons for that.
Mm-hmm.
We'll say human behavioral reasons.
Mm-hmm.
So if you saw the rise of, some people refer to it as wokeness, but it's not, way predates that. If you saw the rise of basically the psychologization and the psychology frame, where people are applying psychology to people,
mm-hmm.
the first thing they want to do is pin you down, is in terms of your quote identity, right? So that they can attack it, right? That's usually called straw manning or whatever. That's fine. I really don't care what you call it. Doesn't matter. If you refuse to self-identify, they have no hold on you. There's nothing they can do.
I get it. I've been doing that for the longest time before I became Orthodox, but after I discovered, let's say, Peterson and all that stuff. So I get that.
Yeah, well, and if you have a strong enough position, there's no reason not to just say, well, I'm Catholic or I'm Orthodox. Like, there's no reason not to, because
that was the whole point in my conversion, is that I had these continuous conversations with a priest where I was really trying to push for whatever worldview it was that I had put together for myself, and I couldn't. And that was the thing, like the point that I had to reach for any worldview, so that I feel like, okay, I can properly defend this now, and I cannot tear it down even in my head. So,
there you go.
Yeah. Okay. No. I get that.
Yeah. A lot of people never reach that point, but then once you can say like, oh no, I'm Orthodox or I'm Catholic or whatever. Yeah. You can just identify that and let the attacks come, and they're easy to defend, right? But if you can't do that, identifying as anything is very dangerous. Like up to and including your profession, right? Because and people, will say not just on the internet, but also on the internet will go after, like, oh, you're a software engineer, that means that you're an engineer, and engineers are autistic. They go down that kind of road with it. So, and that's been the default condition for a long time, basically. Uh-oh, you frozen? Are you gonna drop? Come here, you make me do a live stream, then you abandon me. Uh-oh. 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 Where are you? Ah, ah. Now I don't know how much he heard. That's the problem with these live streams when they go terribly wrong like this. He'll be back. Probably just had to reboot, because as every good software engineer knows, have you tried turning it off and then on again? Always work. Restarting fixes so many problems, particularly in Windows. That's probably all it is. Yeah, he said it was computers crashing. Oh no. Now I have no idea how much he heard. No idea where to leave it off, how to start it back up again. And this is terrible. I've been subjected to this horror by the whim of a European. Oh, terrible. Terrible. Where's Neil? He could jump in here. Let's send him the link. We're talking about music and meaning, so you would think these people would be all over this topic, but no. I do wish we should have planned this. That's okay. We got to get it done, because we have tried to do this talk, I don't know, 6 times over the past year. So every couple months it comes up. Oh yeah, we didn't work out last time. When are we gonna talk about our next thing? And then of course I didn't remember, where did we leave off in our last conversation? It's been a while. It's like, oh yeah, music and meaning. Yeah, that was where we left off. So it's interesting that it comes up now in the middle of particularly all my other live streams that I've been doing all freaking week. Right, it just popped back up. It seems to be in the zeitgeist, or salient, if you want the scientific language for the same exact thing. When you apply salience to the wider world, you're just talking about zeitgeist again. Not that I necessarily agree that zeitgeist is the best term either, but you gotta you're pointing at something, and it's got to have some kind of name so people can grab onto it. And I think that for music, that's what music does, right? Or should be doing. It should be binding things together that go together in a way that makes them more graspable, more understandable, right? I'm trying to remember what the Vervaeke term is for that. Well, let's see. We could slip into Vervaeke mode. Music creates the affordance for a bunch of concepts to come together in a way that they're reciprocally opening and more graspable. That's John would say, something like that. There he is.
No idea. Computer just crashed. Sorry about that.
I understand. I was saying this the other day. I had a day where everything with more than 100 transistors actually malfunctioned on me, and I was feared, because I could fix all of it. It's software. I know software. I could have fixed all of it, and I don't have access, so no one's gonna let me into their source code, which is fine. They probably shouldn't, but I was just pissed off because I'm like, you gotta be kidding! My TV didn't work. I'm like, I can't watch TV. It used to be you turn the thing on and the signals are already there, just in the air. No, not anymore. So where do we leave off? Where did you crash?
About 3 minutes ago.
That doesn't help me. What was the last thing you heard?
No, I think we were talking about how mathematically the Lutheran and so on and so forth options have to crash. It doesn't play out properly, and how materialism ultimately has to lead to church, basically.
Yeah. If you can get to the end of it. I mean, I think the problem is people don't get to the end of it. They get stuck in the nihilism first. Especially if you can't get to the end of it. Because a lot of people, look, I mean, I know everyone's educated and PhDs and all that, but a lot of those people can't get there. And those are what they would call psychological hangups. I would just call it human behavior. A lot of what people call psychology, I just think is human behavior. And so I think the difference is that if you, if you were what the scientists want to be, which is a creature of some kind that we'll call it an extra human creature, because it's not subject to the whims of human behavior. It doesn't have desires and biases and all that nonsense. And you lived in this neutral space called objective material reality, and you could judge the world. They'd probably be right, but none of that is true. And so your ability to get out of a meaning crisis on your own, caused by your scientism or just too much materialism or whatever, is small, precisely because you may believe that you can logic your way out of things. But if you've been traumatized in the church, like Dr. Vervaeke has, the odds that you're thinking clearly enough and logically enough to figure out, oh, this is where materialism ends, and this is why I need to go to church, are basically zero, right? Basically zero. And I would argue that's the lesson of so-called modern philosophy and all of the Protestant splits, is that basically these people have personal hangups. You can start with Luther, right? Personal hangup problem, not a real theological argument at some level. It's really not. It's not a valid theological thing to even talk about. Like, you can't talk about the mind of God, obviously. So why are you having a theological argument about the mind? Because that's what the argument boils down to. Am I saved? Is somebody else saved? Why are we ever discussing this? This is ridiculous, right? And it was his own personal fear of, he felt like an imposter, right? He didn't feel like he was doing everything, but it wasn't working or something. Mm-hmm. And that causes a split. Like, of course it does, right? But he couldn't do the simple reasoning to get out of it. And then, to be fair, towards the end of his life, he kind of figured out, oh, a lot of the stuff I did was terrible, and that was a bad idea. It's like, oh, thanks. After you did it all, appreciate it. It's wonderful. Oh, I shouldn't have blown up that building, killed all those people. Awesome. What a plot.
Well, I mean, at least you kind of notice it later.
I mean, if you say so.
That was a joke. That was a joke. I know. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So where do you want to go from there? What are your thoughts?
Well, what I don't want to do is have a discussion about actual like the question is orthodoxy or Catholicism right or whatever, because I don't think that I have anything to add to that other people didn't.
Orthodoxy forever, my friend. Orthodoxy. We're on the same team for the purposes of everything.
Yeah. See, that's kind of a heresy. So I will not say yes to that.
Okay. I don't think it's a heresy.
Well, I mean, the thing is that from the Orthodox perspective, necessarily it is, right? But I don't think that I have anything extra to add to that hasn't been said by other Orthodox apologists. But I also don't think that it's. I mean, so we're okay. So if we take the whole conversation about the meaning crisis, the faith crisis, or in our case now, the way that music can help overcome those. If we take that to its ultimate extent, then we're going to arrive at that question again, right? Because the idea is, if you're gathering everything together, if you're trying to harmonize things so that they perfectly express truth, then ultimately you're going to also arrive at the question is, should I go to that Catholic church or to the Orthodox church or whatever? So that's going to become important, but I don't think that's my place to speak. I believe. Okay, so take the music that I make. I think that there's a very, very technical reason why it can help some people to solve that crisis for them, and that is that you brainwash yourself. I mean, if you've ever listened to Akira talk about that like 5-6 years ago or whatever in his streams, he also he kept mentioning it that it's a what did he call meaning wave? It's a brainwashing tool or like a psychotechnology or whatever he said, something like that.
Yeah.
And that is also the way that I experienced it. So my home was a mess, and then I kept listening to Jordan Peterson's "Clean Up Your Room," "Clean Up Your Room," and the more that I listened to it, the more I cleaned my room, because you just repeat stuff over and over, and that is also the way that I mean, at least partially, that's also the way that I became Orthodox, or even considered becoming Orthodox.
Right.
It's because I was working with Jonathan's talk, Pentecost for the Zombie Apocalypse, for years, like 2 years, a year and a half, something like that. And I listened to that. The speech is like 45 minutes. I listened to that for ultimately months on end. If you take all the time out that I slept or did other things, still months on end. So at some point, I just kind of the things clicked. On one hand, and on the other hand, it was just what was in my head. So of course, my brain's gonna make connections that are orthodox. I mean, that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And so that's a very technical reason why that works, and that clearly also applies to other music. I mean, you can. I've been guilty of that. You can listen to sad music a lot and make yourself a lot more sad. It's like you're gonna experience emotions that you have no reason to feel. But this like I hear some Midwest emo or like punk rock or whatever singer sing about how his girlfriend left him in front of the 7-Eleven and now they can't go bowling anymore. Like, I've never been to a 7-Eleven, at least at the time that I was listening to that song. I've never had a girlfriend leave me in front of one, and I definitely didn't go bowling.
Exactly.
Maybe I kind of look the part now with the mustache, but whatever. So I've never.
70s bowling, maybe.
But I was, I felt those lyrics as if that happened to me.
Right.
And so that clearly that is the way that it works. And maybe Jordan has been talking about how he thinks that the world is much closer to being a musical masterpiece than it is to anything else, because that's clearly the way that things come together, right? Like you have, very easy, you have low frequencies and high frequencies, and then you have more rhythmic things that are happening, and then you have more melodic things that are happening, and then the melodic things come together and they form like harmonies and or whatever.
Right.
I mean, maybe I have no idea. I don't know if that's actually the way to describe it, because I've never had any classical training. So if you get Matthew Wilkinson on, or you get Neil on, they're going to actually be able to tell you technical stuff about it. But that's at least, that's the way that it happens. And
it can. So I want to just boost your point. So I had a roommate a million years ago when I was homeless, actually. So I was sleeping on his couch. That was after I was sleeping on his couch, though. But when I was sleeping on his couch, he had this sequence of songs that he would listen to when he got depressed.
Mm-hmm.
And it would start with the Swans. And if you've never heard the Swans, count yourself lucky and don't ever listen to them, because if you want like depression from a speaker that comes into your soul and invades it, then the Swans is for you.
Okay. No, I don't want that. But
no. The Swans is horrifically depressing. And then he had the sequence. I don't remember the sequence. He would listen to next, and then the next, and then the next, and then and to get him out of it. And then same apartment, actually had another roommate, and then I slept on his floor. He didn't have a couch. And then it was The Wall 24/7.
Oh yeah,
we actually listened to the wall. It never stopped.
Mhm.
Like, actually, we're asleep, the wall is playing. Like,
Yep.
actually 24/7. And then every once in a while, he'd pull up the U2. And I was like, oh, he's in a good mood. So, can confirm. But then there's something else. There's something interesting here that I've been trying to puzzle through. So I'm glad it came up. Well, a lot of people are very afraid of or sort of look down upon repetition, right? Except when it's in music. And I'm like, oh, you don't really hate repetition.
Mhm.
You don't really look down on it, right? Oh, that guy he just sits at a desk and types all day. It's very repetitive. It's
Mhm.
repetitive work. You're just checking somebody out at the cash register all day, right? And the way that the churchy people, we'll just call them churchy people because why not annoy everybody today? The way churchy people talk about it is they're like, yeah, but that's liturgical and that's good for you. Of course, they don't make a very strong case for this. I would argue you guys all suck.
Yeah.
You gotta make a better case for this stuff, right? But they're right about that. Like, absolutely, like that's how you learn things. You learn things through repetition. Because the only way to know something is to be wrong and participate over and over again until you're good at the thing, right? Whether it's sailing a boat or even just reading or writing or arithmetic, like it's all repetition. That's why it's taught as repetition. If you denigrate that, and you replace it with, well, I just read a good book, and and now I'm fine. It's like, that's not, you're not learning anything when you read a book. That's not happening. It may enable you to see the world differently, but even seeing the world differently isn't learning anything, and this is why they're trapped by ideology, right? They're like, oh, ideology. I'm like, okay, but they got the ideology from a teacher in a book, guys. And your proposal is teach them different books. And I'm like, but in a lot of cases, those people had both sets of books and they preferred the easy book for the stupid people. I'm sorry, but like, just technically, I'm just going to tell you, like
Das Kapital.
critical studies is a really banal language written by people who maybe their command of the English language is so bad that they actually should be banned from writing anything ever. And I'm not trying to be controversial. Also, I'm just telling you that might be the case. Like, you really got to consider this. And those ideas are very simple, like Karl Marx's ideas, because Karl Marx quotes will spew forth from a 5-year-old if you listen long enough.
Yeah.
And it should tell you some about Das Kapital. It's not high intellectual. So you're more likely to be invaded by that than you are the Odyssey or Moby Dick. I'm sorry, but and then there's the question of, can you cognitively understand Moby Dick, and then can you understand it at the level of? And I did a book club on Moby Dick on Father Eric's channel, which is awesome, by the way. Everybody should check that out. And that was one of the nice things at the summit. Somebody said, I really appreciated your historical knowledge in the Moby Dick book club because it really helped me understand the book better. I'm like, cool. That God can take me now. That's awesome. I'm just one person. That's all I need.
Nice.
So all my stupid, not trivial, but seems like trivial history knowledge is actually helping somebody. That's fantastic, right? So when you don't have that engagement with the value of something, quote, liturgical, right? I think this is why the liturgy argument doesn't work for those people. I mean, it's the right argument. I'm not denying that. I'm just saying the audience you're talking to denigrates repetition. They denigrate these things, right? And the reason I think why it works better in music, although I don't think it works fully, as I sort of hinted at before, is because you've got other threads threading things together for you, but without the poetic way of understanding the world, you're just going to pick one, make a linear connection, and you just have more linear connections now, and you can sort of pick one and choose, but you're not really at the point where you're able to do the integration yourself, right? Or fully integrate with the music itself. Did you freeze again? Uh-oh. At least we have a cute dog this time. Never underestimate the cute dog factor in a video or live stream. Cute dogs, they play on live streams. Like number one. I think he crashed again. I can't believe this. Why? The demons do not want you to see my video. I'm gonna go with. We're getting close to good stuff, and they're like, no, we're going to infest the technology and ensure that the expert cannot speak by freezing his computer. It's Europe. They have a weak infrastructure. That's what I'm going to go with. I only say that because technically I know things about the European infrastructure because my father did some work on getting cable internet into Europe. Americans may not know this, but most of Europe didn't have cable internet not too long ago. So they had to build that up over time. Yeah, coming back. He's on his way back. I have it. I have it on good authority. So I got to find out what he thinks of my thesis here. This is terrible that this is happening. It's demons. It's definitely demons. They do not want us to explore this topic correctly because if we did, if we got to the bottom of this, and I'm not saying we're smart enough to do that, but if we could get to the bottom of this, or even get this on the radar with other people, then we'd be making real progress in the world. I mean that sincerely, by the way. I'm not being blasé or trying to make a joke out of it. I think this is part of the key. I kind of disagree though with the idea that music is tying everything together, and you know, like there's lots of things that tie things together, and I really don't think music is as unifying as people suspect. And I think the type of music matters, man. Like I think that matters a lot. Not that Dirt Poor Robins isn't perfectly excellent music that is nearly flawless in both its conception and execution, but there we go. Now he's back, I think.
Yeah. So before we continue, this is embarrassing. I'm very sorry. I in the other browser that I was using, it told me that I have limited browser memory. So I did an absolute act of desperation here, and I opened Microsoft Edge instead of the browser that I use normally. And I hope this problem is not going to come up again. This is very strange. Okay, let's get back to it.
What did you hear last? Because that was
it was a bit jumbled, and then but what was the last thing we were talking about in general? What was the thing? I was kind of getting angry and now I forgot.
We were talking about music, and I was making the case
Yeah.
that repetition is denigrated, right?
Oh yeah. No, okay, no, okay. So I had a comment on that because you talked about how there's like people who look down on repetition, especially when it comes to the liturgical one. And I mean, I don't know, it's not always the case, but it's kind of often the case that the people that I hear that from, the type of music that they're into is, besides others, of course, is techno music, which is like the most repetitive thing that I can think of. I can't even listen to it because it's so boring, at least to me. And I kind of feel like you can only enjoy that when you're on cocaine and some nightclub, I guess.
Probably.
And so
Probably.
yeah, I don't know.
That sounds right.
Yeah. So that's strange to me because there's there's levels on which they're okay with it, of course, as you said, and then there's but they don't go far enough. And so that what I find interesting is that they're always like the sentence "go to church," right? This encapsulates everything. Everything's there. But you kind of have to go. I think you have to go through all that journey which is so the bell curve meme, right? Like you have the stupid idiot on one side and you have the enlightened one on the other, and they're saying the same thing. And then there's in the middle, there's the guy who's like, yeah, but it's this and this and that, blah, 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 blah. But the other two are like, God is a man in the sky. It's like, yeah, that is absolutely correct. This is actually true. So yeah, that's just kind of funny to me. It's I mean, I wouldn't, if you asked me that like 15 years ago, I would have told you that you're retarded. But
Yeah.
can I say that? Can I say that?
Sure. Absolutely.
Okay.
I say
Great.
it all the time.
Yeah, no, that's not what I meant. I meant like, is YouTube gonna do something to you
Nah,
because of that?
nah,
Okay, good.
That'll be fine.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that's just kind of, I would have said that you're retarded. But you kind of, you go all the way, and then you kind of figure out that there's like, and I feel like, I felt like sometimes that was also where Peterson first, got stuck even in the way that he spoke about things, but then not like, I mean, I don't like to think about publicly or even in private too much what's going on inside of him, because that's none of my business. It's unbelievable. That it's the most personal thing ever. And then hi Derek. Right. And then
hey Derek, good to see you.
Then also I don't think that it does anybody any good to think too much about, let's say, the salvation or whatever of other people. But
right, exactly.
He kept talking about how and the psychological significance of this biblical story, because this means this and that, and that's very like, first of all, that opened my eyes. So I mean, I wouldn't have been able to make those connections myself. But then you kind of, as Jonathan told me like 6 years ago, you have to keep moving also, because you get to the point where all the elaborate explanations that you have for all those things, they're actually saying less than that one sentence, go to church. And that's also something, I mean, you know this better than I do, because you've studied Matthew's book so much. But that's also what Matthew talks about, right? It's like the deepest truths, they're so simple that you cannot even formulate them. Like there's not even one sentence would be able to.
Right, in here.
Buy it. Buy that book.
Buy the book.
Yeah,
buy the book. I got a whole book club.
Yeah, join the book club too. So absolutely, you can read that as many times as you want to, and you're always going to like. There's like Nietzsche is maybe a similar experience, and then obviously the Bible is better. But you can read that book. Also, Nietzsche's works. That's why I'm bringing it up so many times, and you're always going to find something new in it. Yeah, thank you very much. I'm getting used to it, Derek. Yeah, that's a very Floridian mustache.
From the 70s. From the 70s.
I think it's like last week, my girlfriend just told me I should do it. And I was debating it in my head like for years now, and I didn't want to get rid of the rest of the beard, but then I did it. Yeah. So
it looks okay. You're pulling it off. Yeah, I wanted to comment real quick on this stuckness idea.
Please.
All right. So stuckness was something we were talking about, 6 years ago on the Verviki Discord server. It's like, oh no, people are stuck. And then a lot of what I do is and not just me, I have a lot of help, but I've been showing all the people around me, like, this is how you find out where someone's stuck. And that can give you the next step, because the problem is, well, go to church is obviously clearly the right answer. A lot of people, like I said in the beginning, it's not going to work. Like they can't even read a poem and appreciate it. Right. They can't listen to music and get the syncretism between the lyrics and the sounds. Right. Which doesn't exist in all music, which that's the other problem. Like, it's definitely not a thing in every song. A lot of songs suck, right? Just suck, right? These people are good at that, right? And that's important. But the stuckness, and I think what Jonathan was relaying to you is that you can slice this thing up scientifically. By this thing, I mean the world or reality. The correct word is creation, by the way, but whatever. The secularists
Yes.
like to use this goofy word reality. It's fine, whatever. I'll use their stupid terminology. They like to carve it up and then just look at it from different perspectives. But because you've carved it up, this is where you get the stupid God of the gaps theory. It's like, there's no God of the. Why are you thinking about the world completely backwards? Like, where did you think you got the things to carve up? Anyway,
Yeah.
so far, just thinking about these poor stuck people, right? So they can stay stuck and then move, but they're not moving in a circular fashion or in a wave pattern or anything. They're moving in a linear and discrete fashion from one discrete perspective on the world to another. And then maybe they notice something. They go, "Oh, how do we put these together?" And then they usually what they do is I call it looping words, that they self-reference, right? And so they'll do something like John Vervaeke loves the word reciprocal, right? And they'll say like, "Oh yeah, well there's a reciprocal relationship between X and Y." And now he's basically Hegel, right? Because it's like, oh, there's two things, but from the two things, a third thing emerges. Like, I feel like Hegel was wrong, and also this is stupid, but whatever. I mean, it's not completely wrong. It's just unhelpful. Like, okay, you have two things, you relate them. Now you have a relation in addition to the two things. Thanks. I can count to three. I could always count to three. Right, but you're not understanding the flow between them, which is a better, right, which would be more continuous. I think that's why John Vervaeke, focuses on the flow state, which is, I haven't read Csikszentmihalyi. Unfortunately, he passed away not too long ago, which is sad. But I haven't read his book on flow. But I also think I'd be horrifically disappointed if I did. So I'm like, right. That is closer to a continuous way of experiencing the world. So, the classic one is rock climbing. When you're rock climbing, you kind of lose yourself in the rock climbing. You can do this with lots of things. Music is one of them. Put you into an instant flow state, right? And then, suddenly you're at the end, like you climb the rock and it worked, and you didn't feel all the pain that's going to come in the form of soreness later. and fair enough, like that's great. It's a wonderful utility. That is a continuous state of processing. It's also dangerous, by the way, which John doesn't talk about, but flow state's how you fall off the mountain while you're rock climbing as well. So you can be a little more careful. It's not an unfettered good, right? Flow state's very dangerous. You can get into the techno music. So you've denied repetition in your life. You don't want a repetitive job. You don't want to come home and do the same thing every day, right? You don't want to go to the sleep at the same time every night or wake up at the same time every day, because that's repetitive and that's for the lower class, right? And then so what you do instead is you still need that, right? So you go get it along with cocaine and what else did you think? X, whatever they're doing at the clubs instead. And then you immerse yourself in it, right? Because it's not, this is, so one of these days I'll figure out how to do this video. Every once in a while I get a flash. There's non-optional components to the universe, right? Like one of them would be repetitiveness, right? And the link between repetitiveness and learning, or the link between repetitiveness and being able to do things at low energy, right? So-called muscle memory. Muscle memory is repetitiveness, right? Muscle memory is the end result of repetitiveness, where you train, even the neuroscientists will agree with this. They've measured it.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
You train an action, right, that you're really good at, and then all of a sudden, how much energy your brain, because they can actually measure that, takes to do that action just drops through the floor one day, just gone, right? And that's not a permanent state either, right? Because people have noted, I had a boss years ago, we had a foosball table at work. Awesome. Always work at a contract or at a job with a foosball table. He said, oh yeah, they just came out with this article on something everybody should have already known, but whatever. Scientists are very slow. They catch up with things very slowly. Just before you learn a new way to do something, you get really bad at the old way. Well, of course, you're going to break all the old patterns before you create new patterns in the system to become better at foosball, which is exactly what happened. We watched him do it. It was amazing, right? It's a timing thing. Like you can't make it happen necessarily. Maybe you can increase the odds. But see, these people don't want things to be that way because they're busy denying them. And I think it's a correct link, that you're making here between they don't have liturgy, they don't want liturgy, they don't want to be a cashier, they don't want that regularity, and then they overdose on it on the weekends.
Clearly.
There's a whole culture in Edinburgh, Scotland. Every weekend they're just freaking coking out and listening to music and going to clubs like the whole
Which
time.
is also repetition.
Yeah, it's liturgical. You're going to your club church for the weekend every weekend, huh? Or even it's just one weekend a month. It's just, and they don't see it. They don't see it at all. I just want to grab RJ. Good to see you, Mark. Ask the come on, two more, come on. About how his interest in patterns has affected the meaning he puts in his music. Do you have any interest in patterns? You not even see it that way, because that would be fair. You'd be like,
no, I do. I mean,
okay.
I mean that's kind of the. Okay. I mean, okay. So the obvious thing first. We can only express anything or even perceive anything because we do patterning. Like the more you lose your ability to recognize patterns, the less you actually perceive. Like you cannot, you cannot form a thought about it. You cannot, none of these things. You can't. I really mean that perceiving. I really think that perceiving means patterning. Like that's just it. And so, I mean, that's the obvious thing at first. I have to say that because my next sentence is also an obvious one. It's like, I just perceive the world in patterns, right? Of course. Okay. So everybody does. But what I mean by that is that like, that's, I feel like that's been highlighted for me in the way that I that I experience the world more than people in my immediate surroundings, let's say. Not in the sense that I'm such a genius, I see so many more things, just that the way that I speak about things and the way that people that are close to me speak about things, they seem to focus on different things, and my thing seems to be over focused on patterns. I don't know. And so I think that so the thing that I would like to do in my music, the reason why I started to do the music that I do now is because I felt like whatever I could say lyrically wasn't just not cutting it. Like I think I have a way with words. Like I think I'm good at writing lyrics, but they're usually very emotional, and they're not about the things that I, especially back in the day, wanted to write about. Like I didn't want to write another sad love song or whatever. The world has enough of that. But I did want to write about, all those things that I feel are important. So technically now I would like to write songs that highlight the beauty of orthodoxy, and I would like to be able to write lyrics about that, or, about like specific problems in society, or very punk rock of me, I know. But I can't. Every time that I tried, and I mean, you shouldn't try that either. You shouldn't be like, oh, now I'm writing a song about this, and that never works. But every time I even out of the spur of a moment, I tried, it didn't work. It just sounded preachy and kind of embarrassing. And I noticed that all the things that I wanted to say had been said by people that are infinitely smarter than me, in infinitely better ways. So why would I try? So and also this and maybe that's the best answer to the question. The thing that interests me the most, or that just captivated me the most about this type of music, is the fact that I write a song without any speeches, and sometimes I do, but usually I don't even have the speech in my head yet that I want to fuse with the music. I just write the song, and then I take some sound bit that I cut from a longer speech. I put it on there, and then it just aligns. And it's not like, oh, I made this line because I just like it's that's not what's happening. It's just for some reason the way that Jonathan spoke about this topic in this moment, is just perfectly aligning with that punk rock song that I wrote 4 months ago before he even held the speech. And
Yeah.
that is so fascinating to me. And every time that happens, I'm so eternally grateful that I may participate in something like that. I think that's the best answer to the question. I hope that answers it.
Well done. RJ can calm down. Anyway, Daniel, it's very good to see you, sir. I'm happy that you're watching. Yeah. Before we continue, RJ's second question, I just want to make a comment about artists in general, because I've worked with artists. If that's a thing, it's more like wrangling cats, only with hell involved. To get artists to do anything, right? So yeah, it's very difficult. Even my girlfriend was in a band, and she's like, yeah, bands are basically impossible. No one gets along. They split up instantly. It's horrible. Like, the singers always get egos and start doing coke immediately. I was like, that sounds about right. Yeah, well, she was in Rhode Island. Rhode Island's a special place.
Fair point.
Yeah. So, but I think artists they are more sensitive to patterns, and the problem for them is they overconnect, and maybe they try to combine two patterns that are related but aren't the same and shouldn't be connected, but then they think they are, and that's
not a jab at my music.
That is not a jab at your music. Not from Sally. No, lies never work. Only passion and stressful passion. Yeah, I mean, when you can see things come together, like you could listen to the people being interviewed, right? Like Stairway to Heaven gets written in like 15 minutes, right? And it's like they're just kind of hanging out in the studio, or they don't have a plan to write a song. That didn't happen. Like none of that happened, right? And it's not that some artists don't do that, because some artists work that way. Like the Eagles, right? They used to work that way in the beginning anyway. But like there's Jimmy Page just doing the magic, because the guy's magical, obviously, right? That he does. And then, Robert Plant, who's also a magical being, the lyrics just come to him in the studio in the moment, and that's it. And it's done. And it's like, wait, what just happened, right? And then, still not their best song, but maybe their second best song or something. Obviously Battle of Evermore's like the best song of all songs, clearly. Unless you're talking about Beethoven's Sixth, in which case then that's the best song, right? So on and on. Anyway, it all depends on, it's all context. It all changes. But I think the artists, when they're able to get together and wrap those things together with their specific specialties, that's when it, right? And so your collaborator in your case is Jonathan Peugeot, right? And he is an artist, right, in more ways than one, right? And all that's we'll say held together in the creation by the creator or something, right? So God brings it all together. And yeah, I mean, that's an interesting aspect to artists. Yeah, Prince was notorious for cranking out songs. Yeah, Derek, he had his whole house mic'd up, every room. It was written on a napkin the night before recording in the studio. Yeah, but yeah, he's another one, right? He played 12 instruments by the time he was 8 years old. These are not human beings, right? We are fortunate that they are among us. Like they're so ridiculously above everybody else, even their own field. That's part of the problem, right? And so I think that when you understand that artists are kind of like the people who can put together these patterns and see these patterns in an enhanced way from the rest of us, and that usually correlates with, so Sally, for example, there's a color test, how many colors you can see. Sally can differentiate way more colors than I can, and I'm actually above average. So right, so the artists, it seems to correlate, right? Oh, there we go. Oh, beautiful.
That's Sally. Sally. She made that.
That's Sally.
Just want to brag that I got an original at home.
Yeah, well, you should. It's going to be worth $1 billion before too long. I assure you.
Yeah, I won't sell it though.
The hierarchy's real. Some people are just better than others at things, and for everything you can think of, there are better and worse people. That's where people miss it. They go, they go, oh yeah, well, of course people are different. And it's like, no, you don't understand. There's a hierarchy along every axis you can come up with. And that hierarchy is just a lot deeper than you think. And that's really scary, right? Because that's what John Vervaeke talks about, combinatorial explosion. Yeah, that's combinatorial explosion. The thing that ties it all together, though, is symbolism, right? Because symbolism reduces combinatorial explosion by constraining the number of variables that can be used usefully together in mathematical terms. That's what it does. It does other things, but that it also does that, and that's the key part for the materialists, for the science people, for the math people who are stuck, right? Is that no, symbolism has a way of reducing the variables for you, so you don't have to, engage that way. And right, they want one symbol for one thing, and it's like, but that's not. Now we're back to the linear discrete thinking problem, and that's why I think the meaning crisis is so pernicious. Whether you get there from having never gone to church when you were young, or you get there because you slid down the well of crisis of faith into the meaning crisis, it really doesn't matter. Once you lose that poetic way of seeing the world, and I think that's also, and this is sort of spitballing, like crazy idea time for Mark, hot take, right? I think that's why a lot of people like want to be artists all of a sudden, and I'm like, yeah, but you're not an artist, right? You get around an artist, you can tell. Like I met Roger Dean once at a conference, and the whole time the guy's drawing, and I'm like, what is wrong with this human being? Like, they're broken. They've got some kind of malfunction. Yeah. Are you not familiar with his work? Oh, okay. Let me grab one.
Is it a painter?
Prince.
Oh, nice.
He did the album covers for Yes. The band,
Oh,
yeah.
Nice. No, that looks very cool. Can you send that to me? I mean, not the physical one, like a, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a link.
Yeah,
Okay.
and you can see his signature there. That's his signature. He signed it in front of me,
Awesome.
obviously. But,
Awesome.
right. Or you go to Sally, or you just talk to Sally for 20 minutes or whatever, and she's talking
Yeah,
about all the
crazy.
compulsions that are, like right now she wants to do Red Horses, but she has to finish the
Yeah.
board game first, right? And so we get to wrangle that. But that's the thing, is that it's optimal grip. That's what I was trying to think of. Vervaeke would call these things optimal grip, right? Let's see what Sally says. Symbolism makes some variables grippable, right? It gives you the optimal grip on certain types of things, right? And then like the rock climber handholds, it's exactly the same. It's just, but I think that's why people want to be artists, because they feel the need to be able to do this, and they have this intuitive sense or unconscious sense that artists are doing that. Like, art is how you do that. And maybe if they could like be artists or identify as artists, or just like convince everybody that they were artists or something, that those skills would magically appear. And I'm like, well, first of all, they're not skills, right? Like, you can have a compulsion and no skill, in which case you're just a terrible artist with a mental condition, basically, because it will drive you mad. I've seen that. I've seen people who were compelled, but they never developed their talent, and they just ate them alive, and just did drugs. The whole, absolutely, yeah. That's why a lot of artists, I think, are into drugs, because they can't. Yeah, it's
an interesting thought. Yeah.
It attacks them. Yeah, another hot take here for sure. It just eats you alive. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff in my life. It's like, it eats me alive. Well, even just not being able to play guitar, actually, because it's not like I'm going to compose the best song. I have no illusions of that. There's just some certain riffs I want to play, like Smoke on the Water.
No. The problem with you not being able to play guitar is that you should be playing bass. I told you that multiple times.
I know. Yeah, that's okay. My girlfriend agrees. She's like, "Oh yeah, you do look like a." I'm like, "Go, you're not helping."
No, you do. They cost like $150 and they're decent. Just get a bass.
Bass is sort of lame. They're all faggots. No way. I can't do it. I mean, it's just repetitive. Those are the lower musicians, and see, people have that attitude about lots of things, right? And that's that's one of those important things. But I think that if you try to like solve this with music, for example, I don't think you can. I get in lots of arguments, particularly with Protestants, because you know, I cannot abide a guitar inside of a church. Like,
No.
in fact, I think if you take a guitar onto church property, maybe even if you have a guitar next to church property, that something is wrong and like some horrific thing needs
Doesn't
to be
belong
done
there.
to you to prevent this. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like
No,
really
I
against
entirely agree.
guitars in church. Right.
Yeah.
And they asked me why, because I love guitars. I just said, like, oh man,
Yeah.
there's some riffs I want to be able to play. Zeppelin, you know, some
Sure.
stuff, right? But ultimately, and this is what puzzles me, right? Because it's just one of those things like I'd never thought I'd have to articulate. Guitars are flat, they're horizontal, they don't point up. Like a harp points up, right? A violin can point up, right? The human voice can point up. Guitars can't point up.
Okay.
They absolutely never gonna happen. Never gonna be that.
Okay.
I don't care. I still love guitars and guitar music, but I don't think that guitars belong in churches. Like a
No.
pipe organ can point up because it's so much bigger than, you know, right. Also, the girlfriend plays pipe organ. She can do that, or at least she used to be able to do that. So they have to throw that in there. But I think there's a there, and then the Protestants are like pissed off because they want to bring cheap keyboards and guitars into their stupid service, and I'm like,
Yeah.
what are you doing? Like, no, this is no bueno. It's not, no. Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah. So to me, these some instruments can point up, and they still have to be made to do that, though. So it's not like, oh, you play the harp, you're pointing up. No, no, right? But you know, that engagement, I think that's really important. Actually, I think, you know, I think the ability for you to be in a church where the music is tying things up, not just
Mhm.
together, right? Not just linking things together, because the techno does that. And I'm not as averse to techno as you are, and I don't even do cocaine. But then, what would happen if I
Me
did
neither.
cocaine? Obviously, if I did cocaine, there would be a
Don't.
large explosion, and it might take out half the planet. I don't need none of that
Yeah.
stuff.
No.
I'm already hopped up enough, right? I don't need the uppers. If I go any more upper, it's going to be a problem for everybody. So, yeah, that music is very good for grounding. So one of the things I used to do, um, obviously, I used to listen to Darude Sandstorm because that is absolutely one of the most awesome songs for getting work done. And I, of course, because I'm a psychopath, I would listen to it on loop for like an hour. And I see the thing is, not anymore because I'm getting old and my illness is really beating the crap out of me lately. But like, I could keep the pace with that song for
Mhm.
an hour. Most people can't do that without some cocaine. It's I don't need the cocaine. I can do it just any old day. So
Hey, glory
yeah,
to God.
I know. Really, oh man, the things that I'm look back on and I go, man, if I wasn't weird like this and able to do these bizarre things, I would have been so screwed. I'm like, thank
Yeah.
goodness. Yeah. So for me, it's not just about linking things together. It's not like, because that's the next move they're gonna make. They're gonna be like, oh, music can save the world. That's what they're gonna do, right? They're gonna be like, and then maybe they'll upgrade it. You know, beautiful music can save the world. And I'm like, ooh, beauty's not, I mean, they're transcendentals. They don't overlap. Beauty and goodness are not the same thing. So you got to be careful, right? Beautiful music may not lead you where you think it's going to lead you, right? It should lead you to the better, but it doesn't have to necessarily.
Mhm.
And even if it's embedded in truth, we'll say, the good is a tricky little thing. You really got to aim at it. Like, it's really needs careful orientation. You can't substitute that with beauty or beauty plus truth.
Though I do think that beauty might have a better chance at leading you to goodness, because it is less focused. So if you say, okay, so you're
Maybe.
aiming at the good, then you're gonna. I mean, okay, so let's give the communists at the universities. Let's give them the absolute benefit of the doubt. They truly have only good intentions. I mean, I don't believe that, but let's just say it. They're aiming at the good, but they're landing at gulags. So
Yeah.
aiming at
Oh, for
good
sure.
is actually it's actually dangerous. But if you aim at beauty, you're definitely not going to end up in gulags, I believe. Though, okay, wait, actually, did the Nazis aim at beauty? I mean, Hitler had all these, like with Speer, they had all
He
these
was he was an artist.
yeah,
Yeah.
and also like they had all these plans for how they're gonna. Was that beautiful? I don't really. Okay, whatever. That's a
I
different
well, I
podcast
think
topic, and I think it's
I think
interesting.
but I think it is. I think it is. I think
Hmm.
this is the problem, and I've said this before. It's look, it's tough to take. I understand that, but like people need to take this seriously. I mean, Peterson kind of points at it, but go and find his Nuremberg speech and make sure you don't speak German. Just shut the sound off or whatever and don't have any captions. Just watch the guy and just pay attention to how you feel. And I mean, I've admitted this before many times. I watch that and I'm like, I don't know who that guy is. I don't know where the hell he's going, but man, I'm in. I am. It is completely enchanting. It's completely and the thing is, the snobs in the United States, because we are snobs in a certain special way that Europeans don't recognize. That we're all like, oh, dude, that was a German thing, and the Germans. I'm like, everybody in the U.S. was on board with that. He wasn't on Time Magazine's cover for no reason. Come on,
Yeah,
he went. There are stories.
yeah.
I've heard the stories. No way, everybody was on board. Everybody. It's like 80% of the population was like, go Hitler. They were all because it was a much bigger project.
I'm gonna take you out of context. I'm gonna clip this and I'm gonna
Oh,
make a song out of
absolutely,
it, and you're.
absolutely. But that's part of that was part of the materialist project. Like the
Mhm.
psyop that is Germany. See my most recent history video with Adam on Otto von Bismarck, who caused a lot of this problem. There's no
Sure.
Germany, and then there's a Germany all of a sudden, and it's a completely materialistically manufactured or scientism built
Yeah.
place, completely, like utterly. And everybody starts using the term Germany to refer to countries and places and things that were not in existence. There was no
You
thing
mean in Bismarck times?
before Bismarck. Before Bismarck.
Before, okay.
Yeah. So you
No,
watch
I
people,
don't mean that. I don't mean the collection of. I mean, when
right?
Germany as a country itself appeared. That is before Hitler. You're talking about, right?
That's Bismarck. Bismarck
Yeah. Okay.
invents
Yeah.
Germany. There's no map with the word Germany on it before Bismarck, before 1850 or
Hmm.
something, right? It
Yeah.
doesn't exist. Right.
Yeah.
But then now, quote, modern historians and scholars all the time call these regions Germany back in the 1600s, 1500s, 11. I'm like, the way it's anachronistic. There's no such place. There's a mostly common language, and that causes a problem because somebody grabs Luther's theses, translates them from the Latin, and blows up the world. But that's a different podcast. But this project of making Germany work, right?
Hmm.
And obviously there's a war. I don't know if you know about big, everyone's involved, right? And then
What?
there's a lull. Retarded people sign a treaty in Versailles, not realizing that's never going to work because all treaties signed in Versailles don't work and cause more problems.
It's France.
And then, oh, don't get me started on Versailles. And then what happens is we have the rise of evil mustache dictator guy again. And of course, but that should have been obvious. But then everyone's rooting for that to work because he's fixing Germany. People do not understand. Germany was done. If you go read these sources from the time, which I have done, although way before the internet, which is unfortunate because microfiche is a pain. All the thinkers, all the articles, pretty much everybody except a handful of people were like, this place isn't going to exist in 5 years. The experiment has failed. And so when Hitler comes on the scene and actually fixes it, they're like, oh my goodness, this is a miracle, actually, right? From their perspective. And he's been able to fix it. And we wanted this project. Like we were trying to make Otto von Bismarck work. We were dumping money. Every country was dumping money into the German project, including France. Every country was dumping money into some aspect of a materialist created society. And the way he held it together, to some extent, is Wagner, right? Wagner's pretty good stuff, right? And that's how they sort of coalesce the mythos. Their mythos is based in the music that's stolen from a heritage that has nothing to do with any of the people in that region, right? It's all
What?
Scandinavian.
What?
Yeah, it's all Scandinavian. This was always the right. Hitler describes the German people, and he's describing Scandinavians, not German. Germans are short and dark-haired, right? Especially back. I mean, you can go look at the film. It's like, oh yeah, there's a lot of short, dark-haired people here, and then there's the people from the very north that are closer to the Vikings. Yeah. So it's like that's weird, right? But he built it. He built a religion, right? He built a mythos so that he could fix the problem.
I've never heard this anywhere, which is weird to me because this is, I mean,
go study the history. Yeah, no, it's right there. Uh-oh. Did you freeze again? Now you're just cutting out. Are you back? The demons. Demons is the only explanation. This is the third time. Right when it gets good. We could blame European infrastructure, but I don't think that cuts it. Oh, you moved. Are you back? No, he's not back. Why? Why is this happening? What is causing these disruptions in our interwebs? Right when we get to the meat of the thing, he says he's going to be back in a second. That's okay. We'll just remove him here while he restarts. I can't believe he didn't know this, but no, I guess I can. A lot of people don't know any of the most interesting and important parts of history. Everyone was misdirected, redirected, or psyoped, for sure, for real, like actual psyop. All these other psyops are not real. Germany is a psyop. That is real. They're just misdirected. They don't pay attention to the threads, to the patterns, and to the places in which, like, the fact that there was a dictator doesn't matter. There were dictators everywhere in Europe, right? Like the dictators in Europe are the same thing at this point. They're all over the place. And then who decides who's a good dictator and a bad dictator is really the argument of Europe. In a larger historical context, the actual argument becomes how left, not left versus right, how left. Like, oh, communism is left this way, this much, but if you push it, if you get honest socialism, you get fascism. Carl Benjamin, Sargon of Akkad, said that. He might have gotten it from somewhere. I don't know, but also completely true. And once you kind of understand that, it's like, oh, that's what was going on in Europe. All the conservatives were in England. All right, here we go. Now we're back.
Yeah,
I think. Yes.
That might happen one more time in a bit, but I don't. Yeah, whatever. Okay, so what I wanted to say, it's weird for me to have never heard that before because that's a very good critique of the Nazi system, and if you've ever seen educational programs specifically in Germany, they were very focused on critiquing the Nazi system, which is fair, obviously. But I don't know why they wouldn't include that because that's like, it's attacking their myth.
It makes you think. Why wouldn't they? Right? They don't want to reveal, or maybe they don't know enough to reveal that it was a created mythos. And that's how it worked. Like this is the thing. And then you need a salesman good enough to sell something that big. And see, that to me is the genius. And I do mean that in the way that I said it, of Hitler, is that he is so good at selling something big. Like not everybody can sell a mythos, right? And then in the United States, you've got things like the Great Awakening and things like that happened, where people were very good at selling a mini version of orthodoxy, right? They were very good at selling sort of parts of Christianity that people could grab, right? And then they became influential preachers or whatever, which is part of the danger of Protestants. But this is back to the splitting, right? And then what did they do? A lot of them go out and they create beautiful music, right? Beautiful hymns and beautiful. So a lot of the music, even the Catholics will adopt Protestant hymns and stuff for the church. But does that draw things together? I mean, we're actually solving a quote meaning problem at that point, or are we doing something else, right?
Yeah.
Right, because that would be my question. With the proliferation of music as such and the flood of mediocre music, you only have one Led Zeppelin, you only have one Pink Floyd, right? You don't get a lot of these guys, right? You don't get a lot of people that everyone else is copying in some fashion to make their music, right? You only get a few pioneers in any field, in anything really. And if music is just also splitting constantly, what does that mean, right? I mean, is that what you see, or do you see it bringing people together? We'll say in a beautiful way towards the truth or something, and therefore manifesting goodness.
Yeah. Let us do a hard cut and go back to Music Dude's second question, please, because I really would like to answer it.
Okay.
What's his real name? Did you said it, right? I'm not asking you to dox someone.
RJ. Yeah.
RJ. Yeah, right. Okay.
While you answer that, I'm going to excuse myself for 2 seconds, but I'll be able to hear everything.
Sure. Good luck. So, do the patterns that you first saw, a la Pajot, still mean the same to you now? Did your music stay the same pre or post symbolic world experience or symbolic experience? So, I mean, I could answer that with a yes or with a no. I think the most obvious way in which it has changed, and I think everybody can tell once they've engaged with anything for a longer period of time, is that I mean it's deepened, right? So there's Jonathan keeps talking about symbolism happens, and so the first time you hear that, you don't get it, and then the second time you hear that, you're like, oh, there's these moments in contemporary history where you can see how the symbolic uh, patterns, they kind of emerge in actual events that you can observe in real time. And then maybe you go beyond that and you say, well, also the symbolism is the thing that happens, like in creation, because what symbolism is the right, like if you go to the root word, it's like the throwing together, or the gathering together of things, right, in a meaningful manner. And so you that is, it goes back to the more simple understanding that is at the same time it is much more complex, because that is the way that the world exists, is that there's the gathering together of these different levels of existence that then emerges in three-dimensional space and in physicality even, right? And so I think that's to the first question. And then the other question, did your music stay the same pre or post symbolic world experience? No. I mean, yes, also. There's certain things that I just keep going back to, which is what we were talking about in the beginning, which is basically repetition, right? Like there's certain things. So the most stupid answer would be, well, I still take out a guitar and I still play it, right? So I mean, in that sense, it stays the same. But the things that I'm trying to do, and also obviously, I hope obviously my skills are also progressing, right? So I'm a better guitar player now, a better bass player, a better anything, hopefully, than I was I don't know 7 years ago when I first did stuff with Jonathan. Um, Jonathan's talk and so on and so talks and so on and so forth. So in that way, obviously, it has changed. So I think that it definitely, it just generally grew, and then also the man, I said that to Jonathan when we were talking in 2024. Life keeps happening, man. So there's just things just keep happening, and so especially during the summit back then, I really had not been having a good time, let's say, and so then I come into this. First of all, Florida is a paradise. I mean, clearly. So that was that, and then the circumstances that allowed me to go there, which is like I had no money, like none, uh, and I have a very good friend, Paul, who the first he bought my tickets for the summit, for the Supra, and also my flight tickets, and also the food that I was eating when I was there. So there's like suddenly there's this influx of generosity, and then there's at the summit I had people come to me to who recognized me for the music that I did, and they talked to me about that and like what it did to them, and things like that. And the crown of that for me, which is still my biggest flex, maybe, is that in his ending speech he mentioned a bunch of people that he wanted to thank, and he also mentioned me by name and the project that I did, which is uh, just crazy to see something come back from all the work that you put into something like that, and all the I mean, this is deeply personal for me, right? Like all the emotional heart or whatever, the symbolic world, particularly, and then through that, ultimately the church had given me something to hold on to, when there wasn't really anything left, and it had given me an entry into a way of socializing and having like actual like a social circle. It doesn't mean that I didn't have any friends. Like I have very good friends that I've had for a very long time. Don't get me wrong here, but it's like it's allowed me to enter into that, and it's also been an event that just showed me that those things exist. That just changed the way that I, in a very deep sense, the way that I go about my projects. So yeah, it definitely didn't stay the same, because nothing stayed the same after that whole journey, which, coming into the church was obviously the biggest part. And then the Symbolic World Summit, the first one, as like a culmination of a lot of the, apart from the church, a lot of the other things.
Oh no. Again? Already? How is this possible? Good job, RJ. You made him freeze. This weird technical thing that's happening is I don't know what's going on. Yeah, I guess I'll just say, look, I mean, you have good music when it's reciprocally opening, and it's not the same, and it allows you to quote, progress maybe, or move independent of what you did. right? In other words, it brings things together for you. And I think that is, that's what this intersection between music and meaning that we're exploring is all about. Does the music allow you Vervaeke would say something along the lines of reciprocally opening relationship with the things that aren't only attached directly to the music or something, and that is the essence of we'll say resolving the meaning crisis. The meaning crisis is, among other things, a breakdown of your ability to connect things vertically, right? Connect things together vertically. Also, certain horizontal things won't be able to be connected together, and you will oppose them, right? You'll be in opposition to them when there's no need to, right? But when you don't have the tools of verticality, we'll call them, these things are going to conflict, right? So it's sort of like, why does it matter for our friendship when, or our work relationship when our politics are different? That makes no sense to me. I've never understood that. There's no reason to connect those two things in that way. And when you try, you get an opposition. You get a problem. You don't get a solution, right? The solution is in the higher frame. The solution is in the ability to bind things together. You can't bind things together on the same plane, right? It has to go up. It has to go up. There are ways to, we'll say, over purify it by going down, but you have to go up to bind things together to integrate them. There you are.
But I was able to finish my
yes,
talk.
You were pretty much at the end. Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, I feel like this will keep happening. If you don't mind, we'll just keep going.
I'll go. I can
Okay.
I can mostly fill in. I don't know if anybody likes it, but
yeah, sorry
hopefully
about that.
they're
guys.
here to see you. So
Yeah, let's let's hope so.
you're the artist. You're the famous person. I just have a tiny
Yeah,
YouTube
totally. I keep telling my girlfriend I'm an internet niche celebrity. I'm very important.
She'll believe you. She seems all gaga about you for some reason. So you're
Yes.
fine. You'll be fine.
I don't get it either, but I also won't bring it up because I don't really want to disturb that.
Yeah. Don't ruin it. Yeah, for sure. That's fair enough. All right, where do you want to go with this now that you've answered RJ's question?
Yeah, I think I also answered the third question that he put there. Could you tell us how your music has grown? Well, I mean, I can speak a bit more technically about this just for a minute. I've gotten a new instrument for my birthday. I've been wanting to get this for years, and they don't make it anymore. And so I had to find a used one that does not cost $2,000.
A lot of money.
And I did. And now I could get this, so I have more instruments that I can use. And I am a very lucky person. So I had Neil DeGrade from Dirt Poor Robins give me very interesting breakdowns of recording techniques and proper approach and so on and so forth. So I took away a bunch of from that. And when I go visit him in Florida, he said that we can go and finish one of the songs that I've been working on, and he can tell me how to go about stuff like that. So I'm going crazy about that opportunity.
When are you going to Florida?
Well, I mean, I kind of hope as soon as possible because I really want to be in Florida. It's my favorite place in the world. It's so beautiful, but I don't know yet. So
you don't want to go in the summer. You really don't. It's really hot in the summer.
Yeah, but I like that. You Americans, you figured a thing out that the stupid Europoors didn't yet, and that is the necessity of an AC. I don't understand why we do in Vienna. Okay, so
no, they figured it out now. They figured it out. You didn't hear about this because you're over there. They came over for the World Cup, and some of them were in Texas, and they were like, "Oh no, we see YAC is a requirement now because you go
Isn't
to
that
Texas
all?
this
Yes.
time of year." Yeah, no,
Finally.
they've come around. They've come around.
Finally, where the Americans bring some culture to Europe, and we've really been needing that. So I'm looking forward to that cultural revolution. It's going to be greater than the Gutenberg one. So yeah, this is going to be awesome. I'm also going to buy one soon, and I'm looking forward to that. No, so I hope soon. So this also
six and a half hours away. Yeah,
just that's nothing, right? So we're kind of right now. That I'm just gonna do a quick advertisement here. Friends of mine have founded and started and successfully launched Logos Cinema, which is an Orthodox streaming service, big library, and we're also gonna we're also going to, Lord willing, do in-house productions, and I'm their music guy, let's say, and so depending on how all these things work out, we're gonna look into visa options and so on and so forth, so that I could even work there. That's all stuff that kind of needs to be figured out now. If you haven't yet, go subscribe. This is a direct advertisement. I'm not being paid for the advertisement. Mark also isn't. Go subscribe and enrich your life with that, especially if you have kids. We also got a lot of kids programs and so on and so forth. So that's the thing about Florida. I hope I can do it this year sometime. I don't know that yet. And otherwise, I will definitely come privately next year. But it has to be in the summer.
Has to be in the summer, huh?
Yeah, because I need a year to put the money aside.
Oh my goodness. Well, we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, they were interesting folks. They were sponsoring the second Symbolic World Summit. They were in that school there too. Yeah. I talked to somebody from that. That was interesting too.
I'll link this back to our conversation, though, so it doesn't seem entirely out of place. So the question of music and meaning, I think that you can see that at play very interestingly in cinema, because usually the way that it works is that you have something you want to convey, you have visuals for that, and then you get to the next level in which you are communicating something, and that is then the musical level, right? And that is everything from big orchestral stuff like people know from Star Wars. I don't, by the way. I have never seen Star Wars, and I will never see Star Wars. I am not interested in it at all. But obviously, it's a very good example of like big orchestral pieces. You have things, people like Hans Zimmer. I mean, if you listen to the Interstellar soundtrack, clearly that is absolute genius, even though it's a boring thing to point out because everybody knows that. And then I've seen, there's actually two things that I want to bring in here, but the second one is tying into something else that we were talking about. So the first, I've been, my recent obsession has been with that whole backrooms thing that's been going on, and I'm going to talk about that in a bit, why that's relevant. But there's one actor in there who also helped with producing, and that's Mark Duplass. And Mark Duplass is an absolute one of the best actors I've ever seen, and he has this like little horror universe that he built with Patrick Bryce, I believe, which is Creep, and it's about a guy. Spoilers, if you want to see that, don't listen to me right now. Spoilers. Okay, if it's an old movie, you should know, but whatever. So it's about a guy who's he's a serial killer, and but he's a filmmaker, and so he likes to invite someone over under the premise of film me for 24 hours or whatever, and you get $1,000. And then he invites them in, and every time he takes on like a different type of character, and he kind of plays with them, and kind of he drops hints that he is definitely endangering them, but he always tries to see how far can I push this, and so on and so forth, and he makes a movie out of it. And that series has no music in it unless they play something. It's all found footage, which some people are annoyed by that, but whatever. And there's like no added music whatsoever. And I did not notice that until I've seen like 2 movies and like 3 episodes of the show that they did. And I was like, is there any music? Did I ever hear any? And so that's also, I mean, I don't want to speak about that too loudly because I actually don't want to be out of a job.
That's
right.
right.
I'm a composer, right? But that was absolutely fascinating that even the lack of music you see in a project like that works perfectly. But you also see that in normal music, because sometimes you want like nice strings coming in to convey the emotion of the scene where someone dies or whatever. But sometimes you need to have a scene like that entirely silent, right? And so that is definitely a point where you can see how, again, pattern and repetition, but also breaking up of the pattern helps you with putting all the, because if I just play one note the entire time as a bassist, then unless this perfectly fits the song, it's gonna be not good. And
not
so
good.
yeah, and so you kind of have to learn how to, I mean, Sally probably has a similar experience when it comes to painting, right? Because you cannot paint everything blue. You have to kind of make,
Right.
yeah, right, like you get the point.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing. And then the other thing, particularly the Backrooms movie that I've been just crazy about, and like the whole thing that director built is so we were talking about how some people shouldn't be allowed, I mean, we said that half jokingly, but some people shouldn't be allowed to, what was it, say their criticism about something, or exactly. And I've been observing how people respond to the movie, and obviously it's very well. It's like the highest grossing or second highest grossing movie. It's outperforming Star Wars, which yes, but it's doing that, and so on and so forth. But the criticisms that I've seen from people are always so besides the point of the story, that I kind of wish, I wish you didn't have any influence on anything ever, because there's at least related to this, because you're ruining something beautiful from being from getting the recognition that it should get, right? And that's a point where you kind of like, at least I have to be very careful, because that you're so easily snobbish if you're thinking like that, right? Because obviously I don't want to, I mean, obviously I don't want to, and I can't take away a person's right to speak about the topic. And I mean, I actually don't want that. But sometimes you're like, man, you're having a bad influence on something right now, even if it's just a small one. And I really wish that you could,
a bad influence on something good.
Yeah.
And that's really the problem. And then people can't discern that. And so they're like, well, what's the problem, man? It's free speech after all. And it's like, well, but if your free speech destroys the world, then I'm still a no on it. Like, I don't really, the free speech part doesn't really impress me anymore.
Yeah.
For some weird reason. Like I have a hierarchy of goods. Free speech isn't on it at all, but whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, no, not at all.
No, I wouldn't call free speech a good either in that sense. I think that it's a necessary mechanism for a society. I think it's absolutely necessary. The way that the Americans put it into their constitution and the foundation of their country is, in my eyes, genius move, and necessary. because that is how we regulate things. That's how we regulate good and bad ideas, generally speaking. Now,
Sally Joe, speaking, no. Broadcasting limits, yes. Yeah, not a universal right to broadcast. Right?
oh,
Yeah.
fair. Yeah, fair.
Yeah. That's
a good
usually the
distinction.
compromise you want to come to also.
Yeah, because I mean, we already do that, right? Like, you can't go out and say, oh, I want this group of people to be subjected to this horrible treatment, and we do it now, and on Friday we meet and something like, of course you can.
You can't. Well, you can't. Yeah, you can't call for violence or
the exactly
murder of a person,
and you shouldn't be able to.
There is no. Yeah, the idea that free speech, like nobody actually acts that way. Like they say that, but nobody actually acts that way. There are definitely limits on everybody.
Clearly, and there have to be.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it it's a mechanism in my eyes, and it's a necessary one, but it's not a value in that sense.
Exactly.
The value that people see in free speech is actually a few different things. That's not the free speech itself. It is, for example, it's the recognition of the imago Dei, right? Like you're recognizing the value in another person, and that means that their free will is valued. That's, let's say even God values that. That's why he allows us to either reject him or to accept him. So
yeah. Well, it's usually I think Peterson nailed it the best when he said to speak is to think, and I don't entirely agree with that, but
for most people it's true.
He's on to something interesting and important. Right. There's some connection between the coherence of your thoughts and your ability to put them in words that makes speech important for people. And it really is more the broadcasting issue. Like, what can you say where that's wrapped up in that? But just to get back to this idea of music and story, which is also called a film sometimes. It can be other things, but film certainly. We saw music and story at Symbolic World 2 with Deacon Nicholas Kotar's wonderful blending of music and story that wasn't a film. It was better, plays, ballet, things like that, right? But yeah, what he did was just it was the best part of the whole thing for sure.
Yeah, clearly. That's a very easy one. Yeah,
it's simple. Yeah, and I'm glad you helped me recognize that in the moment because I'm one of these people who, what was the best talk? And I was like, well, that wasn't a talk. So I excluded it from the list, but I'm like, but that was the best event. Like, that was the best thing that happened on a stage.
Yes.
For sure. Right. So when people are doing films, and what comes to mind is obviously Disclosure Day, right? There's been a lot of buzz, but I didn't see it. I'm not going to see it. I love Spielberg, but also PSYOP.
I don't.
No thanks. That melding, as we mentioned earlier with Germany, right? That melding of the music with the story presented visually in the case of cinema is important. And I think you learn a lot more from trying to figure out, well, what are they doing when they're putting these two things together in this way than you do by analyzing it under a different frame, we'll say. And the nice thing for me has been, so we just did a movie club on Karate Kid yesterday. You can check that out on the channel. Didn't get a lot of people, but maybe next time we do Casablanca next month, we'll get more people. One of the things I noticed while I was watching Karate Kid was all this East-West blending PSYOP nonsense, and the missing father and the substitute father is actually, somebody from another culture. And it's like, oh, and of course it's done in California where, that actually happened, right? Like they brought in a bunch of people from China, right, to help build the railroad, actually. And they built communities there because that's what people do. They build communities. And there's this cultural blending that people were trying to make happen. And Karate Kid, I think, is one example of them trying to, quote, shift the narrative or control the narrative. I don't like that particular, it's not wrong, it's just there's got to be better ways to talk about this. To make that happen, like, oh no, it's okay for us to blend East and West and it'll be fine. And it's like, you're blending Alan Watts, who learned all his stuff from a bunch of what we in the West would call heretics, who were kicked out of their respective countries and in many cases religions, and then went and taught Alan Watts all this stuff. And he's an idiot, so he didn't express it very well. And now you're expressing it even more poorly. And oh my goodness, just go talk to an actual first generation Chinese person about these things, and they'll set you straight pretty quick. Although, maybe you can't understand it because you're Western, and the Geography of Thought by Nesbitt sort of points that out. Like maybe you can't understand the East, right?
To protect my homeboy Alan here. His whole shtick was that he was trying to make that, which like a core ideas of these Eastern philosophies, make that understandable, and also maybe mold it into something that the Western mind would understand. I think in that way. I
agree. I agree that's what he was trying to do. I just disagree that the project is a good one. Like,
no, it isn't. It isn't.
Yeah.
No, it isn't. Ultimately not. I mean, especially as an Orthodox, clearly that isn't.
It's a bit like Descartes, right? Like Descartes did nothing wrong. Everything he said was perfect, actually. But people who didn't understand it, who came later, used his work and created havoc everywhere.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
I don't know about that, but I believe you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
No, I think, I mean, I think that we have a saint in the Orthodox Church who learned under Alan Watts for some time, and then before he was Orthodox. That's Saint Seraphim Rose.
Right? Oh, okay. Oh, wow. I didn't know that. Interesting.
He learned under Alan Watts for some time. I think that is partially also why his insights are, so insightful, because at least for like let's say alternative people who come from alternative backgrounds, when it comes to like the New Age stuff and so on and so forth, can find so much in Saint Seraphim, because that is, you kind of need access to that.
He understands the perspective.
Yeah, there's people, there's people in the church, there's saints in the church, there's priests in the church who are exactly the right type of person to speak about certain things from just what my perspective would be like a very straight perspective, right? Exactly. Not in a sexual way. I mean, also in this, but you get my point. Like a very narrow, very, very normal, let's say normal, a very normal perspective that a person has. But then there's that doesn't work for many people, and you could say, it didn't work for me either. And I would definitely say that is my fault and my problem, and not of those people. Like I'm really very adamant about, I'm not trying to tear that position down, because that is actually the thing you want to get to. But if you're not coming from that, then a perspective like that often can barely help you. And so you need someone who that's why we have Saint Christopher, right? Like you need kind of the you need the dog-headed saint.
Well, you need the dog-headed in general, and you can pick up a dog-headed book with lots of dog-headed in it on the store.
Do I have one? That's what I have, right? That's what you gave me. Yes, I do. I have one of those. That's awesome.
Of course, you have one of those. I brought a bunch with me. Yeah. The question is, does Jonathan Peugeot have one yet? Because I tried to get him several times. We'll see.
You didn't manage. You didn't manage to hand him one.
He was flying all over the place.
Yes, he was.
I was respecting his time, and I had been to North Carolina, and I kind of, thought that Richard Rowland was going to give him one, but I don't know if it happened. He has the little ones, because the little version that we originally did in Thunder Bay, the little tiny ones.
Yes,
he has one of these, probably several, but because I was like a drug dealer at Thunder Bay. I was like, have a little book. Yeah, definitely trying to spread the word about the dog-headed and how they're going to save the world. Definitely. But yeah, I wanted to sort of, take it back. So I think one of the things that people are trying to do in cinema with music, and Spielberg is particularly good at this at some level, right, is use that music and that visual and combine them to get you into a meaningful experience, right? And so that's part and parcel to how they make some form of meaning in the world. And then my argument would be it doesn't work because it doesn't cohere to the pre-existing order or the created order. And that's that I think is the danger, is that we have people trying to create, we'll call them mini meanings, right? Or worldviews might be a good term for it, right? Worldviews. And one of the ways they do that is they use music to tie those worldviews together, right? That's how they knit meaning together, because music is integrative. And I mean, I think actually that's super important, right? Super important. I do. And now I have to address this. Sorry, Sally. I don't think the brothers Peugeot get the way the book is circles or squares yet. That's funny. Probably due to the height of the roses. Maybe.
I need a 3-hour breakdown of that.
I know. I think actually there's a video of us talking about the book, and I never released it, which I should. I think I didn't release it for reasons, but maybe I'll do that this coming week.
Sally's appearances on the internet are so sparse now, at least as far as I can tell, that if you sit on a gem like that, you have to release it.
I will look into that. I'll try to get that.
Sally thinks that it's more important to actually live her life instead of do stuff for people online.
She's like, I'm not going to come online. I'm going to raise my child. Like, what? I'm going to do good art, and I'm not. I'm too good.
Gay. That's gay. That's gay.
Yeah, we'll get Sally again. Sometimes the last time I was out there, we did a video. We did it.
I need to get Sally again. Sally,
we've done dragons and unicorns together. So one of them in South Dakota. So yeah, that was nice.
Now I need Sally to do something for me again, but she has a few months to get her silly stuff sorted out. And then she can do the important stuff, which is help some German guys somewhere. It's gonna be black and white. Ah, nice. I still have to do music for that, do I? I don't know. I think yeah. I think I still have to do music for that. Or did I do that? Sally, I'm very sorry. I'm retarded. I'll hit you up. We'll talk about this in private.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, she's got to get the board game artwork done, and she's got to get these red horses out of her head. Just because I have to stop hearing about stupid red horses. Because, but we'll. Yeah, she says you got it done. You're off the hook. I think I did.
Oh, yeah. No, you're right. No, sorry. There's been so much shit happening. I'm very sorry. We
didn't get it implemented. That is also true. Although I'm gonna do another talk with Adam. Hopefully, we won't.
Okay. Do you need something else? Because
no.
Yeah, okay.
We had an editing and copying problem. It's purely my fault. Like completely, entirely me. No one else. Okay. We got something screwed up. And
whenever you need me again, you just let me know, because
we will definitely. The only work we're doing next is sea shanties. There's going to be some sea shanties happening. So if you get in the sea shanty mood, let me know. But other than that, everything's fine.
Okay. Am I again?
You're cutting out again. Oh no. Is this going to be another drop off? Are the demons attacking again? We need like exorcisms. We need an exorcist that can exercise YouTube streams for us, so that I'm just going to remove him because he's got to reboot. Sally Joe, send us everything you want to. He's focused on going to Florida now and working with Neil, and like, fair enough, I would be too. That sounds wonderful. Make Mars a base intro. Do you mean BASS, Sally? So are you talking about the instrument or being black pilled? Because I don't. Sally can't spell, so this is that way. When she gets out of shape, out of control, I can just smack her about the head about not spelling perfectly well. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think the exploration really is what is the psyop around we'll say uh, music and meaning making, right? What are people using, we'll say straight music to engage in a way that they're trying to make a false meaning or a minor meaning uh, out of something that doesn't belong and it doesn't work, right? Ultimately, maybe it works for a little while, right? But it doesn't work ultimately. That is sort of what I'm trying to get at with this line of whatever we're doing. Exploration. That's what we're doing. Sorry, it's a little tired. It's been how many days? 4 days. I did 2 live streams on Friday. Did a live stream on Thursday. Did a live stream yesterday, and now I'm doing another live stream. Although this one was completely unplanned. So yeah, I mean, for me, it's like sure that you can use music to make good meaning, right? You use music in the church to bring you closer, right, to whatever thing you're after in a church. That's fine. I don't think that'll ever include a guitar because guitars are not that thing. But also it's being used the other way, right? It's being exploited to put you in a situation where you think things are more connected than they are, or that things make more sense than they ought. And my big example for this, I know I've gone over it before. You watch a show like Airwolf, which is obviously the best possible TV show. Um, and the reason, like, I'm a big story guy. I'm a writer, right? I'm a published author and everything now. Um, but the plots are not great. Right. Some of the plots are fine. Plots have big plot holes and everything else. So what's the reason why I like the show? Well, first of all, there's the world's coolest possible helicopter. Like it's like the platonic form of the most awesome possible helicopter or something made manifest in the show. Also the intro. The intro to Airwolf is unbelievably good. And then yeah, all the actors are really good in their roles. Even though the stories suck, I still like the show. And I think, a big part because so on Amazon Prime, you can skip the intro. But if you come to my house and you skip the intro of Airwolf, you're going to end up in the hospital. You do not skip the intro to Airwolf because the music is so good. I love the music so much that I'm willing to forgive the story sins, if you will, in the episodes because the helicopter's cool. The music's just it's probably some of the best music ever for a TV show. That and Miami Vice, really good music, right? But it's tying something together, and obviously, much to my dismay, Airwolf does not appear to be real, and they do not have a helicopter that can do Mach whatever, with turbos. But it seems more important than real helicopters, at least to me. What happened? Why are the demons like this today? And there's a role for music in tying those things together and making them seem more coherent or more salient, if we want to use, Verviki terminology here, to you. And so salient, in fact, that, like I said, the plot holes, bad storytelling, bad editing, because it's a bad editing in some of the episodes. It doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter. I still enjoy the show. Like, I still like, so the last episode I watched, they had they were coming out of where they store the helicopter, which is basically a volcanic cratery looking thing, right? And then they had the guns out, and then they hit the turbos. I'm like, yeah, if you clearly everybody knows if you hit the turbos with the guns out, they get ripped off. And that engagement, what is the role of music in making that a good enough engagement that I still like watching it all these years later, right? Like I saw it basically as a kid, and yeah, we're rewatching it, and I still love it. I still love it. I see all the flaws in it too. Did I when I was young? Probably not. But the music is part of that, and I don't know what role that music plays, other than, like I said, don't cut off that music. I will be very angry. I love that song. And it was another one I used to use to when I need to get work done. Sometimes I reinvigorate my life with a little Airwolf song there. There we go. We switched to our phone.
Yes, this is getting ridiculous. Is the sound okay?
It does. You sound all right. Yeah, it'll be fine.
Okay. Sorry about that.
It's not your fault. We're blaming the demons. So what do you think the role is of music in making things cohere that maybe shouldn't, or making things sort of seem to fit together when they don't or shouldn't?
Well, okay, so I think that have you ever listened to Bring Me the Horizon?
I don't think so, but maybe.
Yeah, you don't have to. They're good musicians, clearly, but especially if you listen to their older stuff, you will come across absolutely horrible depictions of desperation, sadness, and even offing yourself stuff. Don't want to trigger anything in YouTube here. So, and the same thing goes for if you look at like what the Sex Pistols were doing, and a lot of punk rock stuff. What music does is it works, right? So I mean, whatever message you put, if you do it well artistically, it's going to elevate that thing. Yeah. And so that also means that bad things are going to be elevated by it, and I think that's the main problem. I mean, so there's this. Do you know Frank Turner?
No.
Okay, whatever. He's a kind of I think like a rock musician or whatever. And when I went to the first concert that I ever went to as a teenager, which was like of course, Blink-182, and they had a bunch of artists play before that, and Frank Turner was one of them. And he has this one very catchy song, which is called "Glory Hallelujah," and it's musically it's a great chorus. It's got a lot of sing-along vibes, and at that concert, people were also very inclined to sing along. But the lyrics are: "There is no God. Clap your hands together," basically. There's no God, no heaven, and no hell. And the melody is great. Like I listened to it like a few weeks ago again, and I couldn't help but sing along with it. But obviously that's the opposite. Like that's number one. The song has such Reddit-y vibes of atheism, like the worst type of atheism, and so on and so forth. But that's what people feel. It's like, yeah, there's no God. There's, and I want to say one redeeming thing about this here is that obviously the experience with God and with the church that those people have is not a deep one, right? So it's like very superficial, and it's very much like the the disconnected modern type of Christianity. And so I understand when people do not feel connected to that, because I never did, and I also never will feel connected to something like that. And so another line in that chorus, after saying there's no God, no heaven, no hell, is we're all in this together. And so there's like this, ultimately there's like this gathering together of like a human spirit, right? Like there's a human thing to it. And that is again making it somewhat beautiful, and also I think absolutely counter whatever other message that song has, because if people understand how would you understand God, obviously, but if people understand like the notion of God, the idea of communion, the idea of the body coming together, then they wouldn't speak about Christianity the way that they do, because that is how I mean, that's ultimate. That's how the world exists, right? And so, I mean, and that's people who, I mean, I don't think anybody who disagrees is listening, actually. But if people disagree with that, then obviously I know that it's necessary to unpack all of that a lot more. And that's fair, and that also should be done. But that also has been done already a lot. So if you actually want to find out, you can. I don't mind having a big talk about it at some other point either.
Yeah.
But yeah,
well,
please
just highlight this. Anselman, it's good to see you, Anselman. I hope you're doing well. Alexander's Feast on the Power of Music by John Dryden comes to mind as an old observation on manipulation of emotions by music. Well, I mean, that would be bad. People seem to seek intoxication. Well, I wouldn't frame it this way, by surrounding themselves with a bombardment of noise. Well, again, I mean, I think particularly in the meaning crisis, in the age of gnosis here that we're definitely in, what they're seeking is meaning. What they're seeking is a way to make sense of things, to tie them together, to put them. And music is a thing that ties things together, right? And then the problem we're sort of pointing at is nothing to do with emotions necessarily. I mean, emotions are tied up in everything, so whatever. But they get caught up in this way of tying things together, which could be used for good, but is generally, it also could be used for something completely benign, like entertainment or calming. They're talking about the community, or how the community and the people outside the community interact or whatever. That's all valid. But it's also can be used to kind of convince you that aliens are real and make you drop your faith, a la Disclosure Day, which is what he says he's trying to do. I kind of believe it. Like when people tell you they're doing something evil, like believe that they're evil. This isn't like, take their word for it. Don't take a chance. And Sally Joe, people don't even believe in straight lines right now. Right? Exactly. It's a question we ask people, and they don't answer. They actually answer with skepticism. I'm like, how do you do anything in the world if you don't believe in straight lines? But they don't, and that is that is a problem. Like it's a big, huge hole. Is if people are you want them to engage with symbolism and they don't even believe in straight lines, is that going to go well, do you think? I don't think so.
That's like whenever I speak to someone who is, let's say, outside of the symbolic world and everything adjacent, and often we get stuck at that. The first thing I try to do is establish these baselines. Like there's just, I mean, and the objection that I get is that the people, I mean, the people I speak to, they're not, they're not stupid, right? So what they see is when I'm trying to establish a certain baseline, also because they know me, they know what I'm trying to get at ultimately with that. But so the rejection comes in at, I know where this is leading, but the baselines that I'm trying to establish, at least as far as I can tell, they're not deniable. Like you cannot actually formulate an argument against the idea, for example, that existence is patent. That's like and so on and so forth. And so to me, it feels like the next step is just necessary. Like you can't do without it. You can't say reality is patent, but then not agree that there is there's a combining principle or a set of principles that are then also gathered together into something that unites them. So you have to ultimately, I feel like, if you're intellectually honest, you have to agree that reality is structured hierarchically. You don't get around that fact. And if you agree that reality is structured hierarchically, then you will arrive at God. That is the place where this is going to go. I'm very sorry about that, but you're gonna have to accept it. And so I also talk to people who are speaking about it
as if, why does it have to have one pinnacle? Why can it not be, why can it not be the pantheon? Why can it not have multiple? And then, I mean, I'm not well versed enough in Greek mythology, but didn't they also have a highest god that was above the others? And isn't that also true for what we know about the other paganism? But even if it isn't, then you would have to see that it doesn't make any sense, because you cannot, the reality cannot come together by coming from a bunch of equal principles that are not united in a binding principle. That it doesn't make any sense. And that's also, I mean, I will just make the claim that is also kind of where shit music comes in, because if you have so let's take one example. It's a punk rock band, and they want to do a political song, and so they write political songs, and usually they're really bad. Like there's one passing political song that I listen to, and I can't think of any other. And it's a German German song, by the way. I'm not going to bore you with that, but whatever. And it's not a Nazi song. Otherwise, it's like I have this thing that I want to do, but then I also want to have a big guitar solo here, and I also and these things, they're just jumbled together. And then the worse, the less these people properly interact and properly align with something that binds them together, the more you see that even in the technical, right? So when I was 16, I was in a band, of course, and we had our practice room in like this big office type of building where there were like 30 practice rooms in there. And we made contact with one band who managed to record like an EP type of thing with like 7 songs, and they gave it to us, and I listened to it once, and I really wanted to like it because the guys were kind of funny, but they were so bad. They were like there's like time issues, right? Like the drummer wasn't on point, and then the bassist also wasn't. Clearly the singer couldn't sing properly, not in a good way like in Midwest emo, but like in a bad way where you actually just can't sing. And so these things keep falling apart if we don't have something like that's properly uniting. And
it has to correspond or correlate to the emanation. That's this is where it all falls down for everybody. Like, sure, you can walk your way up the ladder to the highest thing in the hierarchy, and that will always be God, right? But the question is, did you create the ladder that went to the right place, or did you get right? And that's where the problem is. You can't do the emergence is good trick that like Vervaeke and Peterson are trying to do. It's never going to work. Like, you have to start from creation came first, right? You have to start from the pre-created order. You have to start from being is good, and then you can derive all the axioms from being is good, as near as I can tell. I might be wrong about that, but also I got a lot of hours in on this one, so I think you can derive all the axioms from that, right? But the result of being is good is that there's a pre-created order, right? And that whatever thing, force, energy, however you want to slice it in the secular language, created that is God. Like that's the common concept. And then if you start from that came first, and therefore emanation is coming down upon you as the result of that being the starting point, it changes everything. And everything gets a lot easier too, right? It collapses everything in. And I think music does that. And so there's music that points down, there's music that points across, and there's music that points up. And if it points up in a good way, it was always sort of a mystery to me. I mean, it's at some level. I never liked Megadeth, right? Ride the Lightning, where Dave Mustaine is playing with the rest of Metallica, the greatest possible heavy metal. I mean, nothing is ever going to come close to Ride the Lightning. It's not possible, like actually. But Dave Mustaine does that one album with them, and then he does Megadeth, and I just don't like Megadeth. I just don't. And I saw him once in concert, not too many years ago. I can't understand what he's doing to that poor guitar or how any of that works. And I've seen other guitarists, and I kind of understand. Oh yeah, I see. No, he's a magical creature. The question is, why can't? Well, it's because his politics are bad. Like it's just that simple, right? And even like I like Symphony of Destruction. That's probably my favorite Megadeth song, and I still don't like it that much. But the rest of his stuff is so political, and to me, his politics is wrong. And so he can't make the music work, even though he's an amazing, magical guitar. Unbelievable what he does. I didn't even believe it was possible for anybody, much less like he was like in his 50s or something, I think, when I saw him on stage, and I still couldn't understand what he was doing. I was like, wow, this is amazing just to watch. I wasn't even there to see Megadeth. I was there to see Metal Church, which I like much better. They have excellent politics. Their music's great. Their first album's amazing. Right. You want meaning crisis and religion stuff. That's right. It's right in the song Metal Church. In fact, they're amazing. There's something about the music that has to cohere to the pre-created order in order for it to A, be good, but B, in order to draw you up. And yet we have to exclude guitars from that for sure, I think. Sorry.
Yeah.
I love guitars.
I think that, I mean, that is something that I feel every time that I see Neil play, for example, to give like a quick shout out. And it's not, I mean, that guy is like 80 or 90 or whatever. I don't know. It's like super old. And, but he's, but he's still got it. So, but it's not surprising that works for him, because I mean, clearly Dirt Poor Robins, you know them. They're very much integrated into church life, and they're very much. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to check them out, but no, they're very much at least from what you can see from the outside, because again, how on earth would you see on the inside of another person properly? Right. But it's crazy to me to have someone be that good musically, but then you put him on a stage and make him talk about stuff like that, and he's just giving insight after insight. I mean, his talk at the Symbolic World Summit was just crazy, and we had so at the last summit where there were like private supras happening, and we were hanging out at one of those, and there was like a front porch conversation, very American front porch conversation with cigars happening, and there was this one guy who kept speaking, I believe, about like what women are symbolically, and I think that there were some proper beginning points, but he went off the rails, and Neil just got out, had a cigar and a whiskey or whatever in hand, and he just dropped like 4 sentences that demolished everything that the guy had said that was wrong, and reestablished stuff that I hadn't thought about before. And so it just the more you are aligned with, I mean, with God ultimately, right? But you can say it differently. The more you are aligned with truth, or with the actual pattern of reality or whatever, the more you will shine in the things where you are, engaging in. That's just how it's going to work. And so some people, I mean, Neil is clearly an unfair example here. But you also have intimations of that happening with other great musicians. That is why some of them could do what they were doing, even though their private lives were very much a mess, right? Like I mean, not connected to God as far as we can tell at all, and so on and so forth. It's very, very, very interesting.
Yeah, Yeah, and I think I mean Jonathan Bachot talks about going up, I think, Mount Athos and meeting one of the guys, and he's like, the only way to describe it is he's shining, and it's like,
Yeah.
because he's in super alignment with something, right, something higher, and that just shows through, somehow, and it should kind of affect everything you do, right, at some level, and enhance it in some way because you're in alignment with something much bigger than you are that was there first or something. And I think this striving, when you have music that strives to do that, and maybe that music can have a guitar in it or something, right? But when you have music that strives to tie things together, we'll say on the horizontal plane with this higher concept, maybe that's fine. It doesn't belong in a church, but
no.
And people have a real problem with that. Whenever you say like, well, some things don't belong in some places, they like flip out. I'm like, that should be obvious. Serial
but
killers
I mean,
do not belong in your home. Like, it's not controversial.
No, that's I mean, that's just that's a problem of contemporary time. I mean, Jonathan maybe would say that's a problem of the post World War II consensus. We've seen what hardcore exclusion. I mean, the best way to interpret it is we've seen what hardcore exclusion does, and we don't want that. And so, but we're overcorrecting in the other way, right? Because you have to have
binary. Stuck in a
binary. Yeah. I mean, look at me, for example. The reason why I can be is because I'm not the air around me. I'm not the couch that I'm sitting on. There's clear distinctions, and these distinctions have to stay, because if they don't, then I'm not going to exist. And other things also, because they exist. I mean, one way you can say is they exist in exclusion to other things. But the thing that I would say is they exist more is that they exist in relation to other things. And you can only exist in relation to something if you are distinct. Because otherwise that's just you. That's why the Trinity ultimately is absolutely necessary, because otherwise God couldn't be love or loving, because they're before creation there wouldn't have been anything that he would be relating to. So that I find this so obvious, not in a sense that I came up with this, but like when you encounter it, it becomes so obvious. It's like nothing else could be true.
Right. Yeah. Well said. I think the equality doctrine. Yeah, maybe it is all myth of World War II. Oh, the only problem, like, it really is just constantly trying to redeem evil dictators. It's whether it be Stalin or Hitler or whoever, it really is. I mean, it's constant, right? It's like, if you take the nationalism out of the National Socialist Party, then maybe the communism will work or the socialism will work this time. It's like, I don't know. That's not, because it's the nationalism that's the excluder, and really all we need to do is just include everybody, right? And then you find out how well that worked out for the UK. Right, can't let everybody in, guys. But some people just have different ideas of how things can be done and can't be done, and they will take advantage of your most vulnerable part of your population. And the argument over there, and like this is a very common argument everywhere in history, if you look, is, well, they're weak. And that's what it boils down to. I mean, it's not the argument they make, but they're weak, and so it's okay that they got taken advantage of by, and otherwise would not have been, or wouldn't have been taken advantage of as badly, because that is part of the argument that they make.
Yeah, I mean that's ultimately, interestingly enough, that's ultimately Hitler's logic as well. I would really like to point that out. When Hitler, when things were like, when it was clear that the war was over, Hitler went full scorched earth. That should be common knowledge even. And if you look at like private conversations he's had with his architect, for example, he was clearly stating that if the German people failed him in this, which is, I mean, that's a very, very narcissistic, but whatever. If the German people failed him, the how he saw himself, like the prophet of the Germanic spirit or whatever, then they deserve to be to cease to exist. And that is, I mean, that is, So weakness is not. I mean, I'm starting to virtue signal here, right? Weakness is not a moral fault in and of itself. It's also not a moral strength in and of itself.
Right.
But yeah, I'm starting to virtue. It's like, oh,
That's
famine
all
is
right.
bad. I'm against war. It's like whatever.
And that's a deep pattern. I mean, Napoleon did the same thing. I mean, Napoleon and Hitler did it for the same reason. They felt the people that they were leading let them down, and therefore deserved it. Napoleon's a little bit different, right? So you've got Napoleon, France's greatest general, who's not French, and he doesn't like the French. If you look historically, he did not. The French took over Corsica, took him out of the aristocracy. His whole family got booted out of the aristocracy, but he was forced to learn French, and he hated it. And then he, because when he breaks exile, he goes for broke. He's like, we're going to win this or we're all going to die. And it's like, what? And then Stalin did the same damn thing, right? He's there developing a nuclear weapon so big that by all mathematical models, it's going to light the atmosphere of the planet Earth on fire and kill everybody. No, you can look this up, right? Like really, right? And he's just so resentful that he can't have what he wants. And the dictatorship, or at least the tyrannical part of the dictatorship, I don't necessarily think dictatorship is wrong, is unmediated participation, right? It's when your leader is putting his or her own perspective or goals or values above everything else, right? That's when things become tyrannical, because now you're under a leader and you don't have any impact on that leader. They're a tyrant. Everything else is not tyranny. Like now we're just calling any structure, any form, anything tyranny. And I'm like, but it's really kind of not, right?
Yeah.
It's like everybody's using that word. And I'm like, but that's not even close to what Plato would have defined it as, or what it was historically, or how Hitler did things, or how Stalin did things. Like that wasn't what was happening. And you got to have some order. But we're so far against order, and part of that's Luther's fault still, sorry. And also the people that were using poor Luther as a pawn, to be a little bit fair to Luther, even though I don't want to be. They used him as a pawn to get a political thing done. And I think that's why we're stuck in political frames. It's because we've taken away the highest frame, which is the religious frame, because religious freedom or religious equality or religious, like all religions are okay, whatever, equality doctrine. And now the highest thing that we have in common is politics, particularly in the United States, which is a Protestant nation. And it's a mess. It's a mess for that. I mean, I still argue Europe's in way worse shape, but
clearly, come on, clearly.
It's hard to make. It's a hard case to make to most Europeans. They really don't want to believe it.
No, they don't. Stupid Europos.
Sometimes. Can confirm.
Yeah. No, I think that how would you say? So with Stalin, I believe that Beria. I think it was Beria. So I read this very interesting biography of Stalin, particularly about the time of his death. It's going into how there's significant evidence in the KGB files that had previously been unreleased that Beria or people in Stalin's inner circle actually did take him out. Like that wasn't just a heart attack or whatever.
They murdered him for sure.
Yeah, clearly. And it was specifically because of what you just said. I mean, I didn't know about the presumed scale of the atomic bomb, but the idea that Stalin was basically willing to start an actual nuclear war where everybody dies, that's that. And they took him out because of that. I mean,
you're under assault here, my friend. Look at this.
That's my girlfriend. Yeah.
Oh, I know that.
Yeah.
We have to put her up, especially if she's saying this. I like her. She's great. Don't lose that. Whatever you do.
No. No, I also like her. A big fan, actually.
That's a plus. in any relationship. Yeah.
No, definitely. Yeah, people have been telling me that a lot at the summit. People you wouldn't have thought would be telling me that have been telling me that a lot. So yeah, no, I agree. She's a real gem. Also from Slovakia, so she knows a thing or two about communism. It's always very.
She called you a stupid Europore. Are you going to put
Yeah.
up with that? I mean,
yes, yeah. I'm a. What do you call that when you get beaten by your wife? Yeah.
You're a cock, huh? Okay. Wow.
What, cock? No. Wait. I'm not going that far. I'm not going.
You're not
that
going
far.
that far. Oh, okay.
No. That's disgusting.
Just a beaten husband. What are
Yeah,
you?
just a beaten boyfriend at this point, and then hopefully
boyfriend.
one day, hopefully a beaten husband.
Lock that down. Yeah. What's that song? Put a ring on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a whole song about that. It's a very catchy song too. Yeah. Domestic abuse. Anselman's right. He knows all about domestic abuse. He's over there in the UK. Anselman. Stalin is the nickname people have given to the UK Prime Minister. Yeah, wow. That's yeah, except Stalin was actually kind of brilliant. This is the one thing people miss about the two favorite dictators. They were actually really brilliant. And they had talents and skills we don't appreciate. But.
Clearly in what they were doing. I mean, otherwise they wouldn't.
Now you're a puppy.
Oh, come on.
Good boy.
Come on.
That's good. I'm happy that she shares your sense of humor. That it would be hard otherwise, because your sense.
Yeah. I mean that's my strongest redeeming quality. If she wouldn't share that, then I'd have not many things except for my beautiful face, obviously.
Yeah, that's undeniable right there, obviously. Yeah. So, and I think it's interesting because Peterson sort of points at this. I mean, he doesn't point at it with music, although maybe he mentioned it a couple times. I have to ask one of my trained LLMs. There's something about the Russian art that keeps the Russian people together, right? The communism, the art that came out of communism has a very, and I think some of that is this non-optional component, right? Like if you think you're going to get away without liturgy's coming to you, right? If you believe you do not, if you believe you do not have a religion will be provided to you without your knowledge or consent, right? Like these things are not going away. Right. And so, you try to repress the people, and then something unexpected, we'll say, is expressed in the art. And Hitler did a lot more from what I can glean with the music, Wagner in particular. So much so that they made a joke out of it on Hogan's Heroes, which I've been rewatching, which is very, very interesting to watch in the frame of the myth of World War II is the TV series Hogan's Heroes. It's like, wow. I mean, we're just propagandizing the ever-living hell out of the Americans with this American TV show. And it's Bing Crosby Productions. It's like as American as anything could possibly get for that time period, back then. But yeah, I mean, there's something about the binding that different arts do, right? That is wrapped up in the quite frankly psyops that are performed by these dictators more than just the two big names, right? There's a lot of people doing this, but I think it's ongoing to some extent. I would argue Spielberg is doing something similar with his movies.
Clearly, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to. Okay, we're at it anyway. I really want to have my rant about Spielberg here real quick, because I posted something on this. About this on Twitter the other day, and people got mad at me, but I'm right, so I don't care. Spielberg is not impressive, and I mean nothing, at least nothing that I've seen of him is impressive. What Spielberg is, and I have to acknowledge this in the beginning, is that he does know what he is doing, and he does the things that he does deliberately, and so it's not that he's sloppy.
Yeah. No,
but
definitely not.
But what he is, in my eyes, is besides his skills, he is mediocre. I don't find him if you watch. I mean, that is Gen Z in me talking. That's possible, but I find the movies that he does. I find the way that the music works with the cameras and stuff like that to be popcorn flings. I don't find them impressive on an artistic level because it is just spoon-fed. The way that it seems to me is just spoon-fed. It's like, oh, we have this emotional scene, and now we're going to have the orchestra rise, and then you're going to feel this specific thing. And that's not wrong in principle. That's not. I mean, that's what I do too, and that's what actually great composers do too, and so on and so forth. Like, I'm not criticizing that in principle, but the way that he does it, I don't like it. I don't find it impressive. Same thing goes for Lucas. And these types of movies. I'm just not interested. I find it boring. I don't find it impressive. I don't like the praise that he keeps getting. And I'm not speaking from a jealous point of view here, because if I see that type of praise being given to other directors, and again, I want to point out Kane Parsons here with this whole Backrooms universe that he's building, then I'm very, very happy about it. But I really think that, like, what Steven Spielberg is very good at is making movies that appeals to the masses, which in and of itself also, that's a skill. I'm not putting that down either, because there's a reason why popular things are popular. Yeah. But it's just, it's not impressing me artistically. And then I mean, yeah, you can also say, well, who are you to say what is artistically impressive or not? And I'm saying, yeah, okay, that's absolutely fair. But I'm speaking from a very me perspective here. I'm just not impressed by any of this, and I don't like it.
Yeah, well, I think some of the problem with things like impression is that the first time you saw something like that, right? And then when you go back, even in music, right? When I've gone back and said, well, where does this come from, sort of a thing, you know, you can do this with Led Zeppelin, right? So they're basically just ripping off American blues from the streets, which the country they've never been to at this point, right? And the whole story of was it Emmett Erdogan and Atlantic Records and all that, and how it influenced those particular artists at that particular time, not just the Led Zeppelin members, but a bunch of people, right? And then you go back to the original songs that they're copying and modifying, and like some of that stuff is even better than Zeppelin, with different instruments though, because that's the key, right? It's different instruments. It's not even different technique, and because the first 3 albums they've done any original work, right? They've done original things to the songs. They've done any original songs at that point, really. They're just mishmashing, basically street blues music from the southern U.S., from the poverty-stricken regions of the South. But then you go back to a movie, and like I said, next month we're going to do Casablanca in my movie club thing. So check out the community tab for that, or join the Mark of Wisdom Discord. We have a little format we use with that. You watch a movie like Cartoon, which is an absolutely amazing film. It's got the most, I mean, it's all historically based, but it's got like the most basic sort of theme, right? Or Casablanca, very basic sort of theme, right? Very interesting films in a different way from how Spielberg does things. And yeah, there's some kind of split somewhere, and I'm not a film expert at all by any means, but there's some kind of split in films. And I don't know if you place it at a certain place, or the death of a certain person, or whatever it is, maybe even a producer, right? Or a studio head or something, where the films just, it's not that they suck, because you can always suck more. And that's what we're seeing now in the past, like 6, 7 years, 8 years, 10 years, something like that.
6, 7. I only have one free hand, 6, 7.
6, 7. So it's been degrading over time, very clearly. It's been degrading over time. That medium has been degrading over time, and not steadily and not universally, obviously, but also the bulk appeal, things like that. People keep trying to identify it and say, well, it's really the fact that you can watch movies in your house, and crazy things like, it's like, no, I love going to the theater. Like when Dune came out, I went to the theater, right? The new Dune.
Okay.
I was like, yeah, what you would watch. Cartoon is another movie. Like, man, if I could watch Cartoon on a big screen, I'd be out there with the popcorn and the whole night. I'll buy your stupid popcorn, pay your $20 billion or whatever for a stupid movie ticket. Just put that on a big screen. I have a big TV, but still, I like the movie theater experience. I'm okay with it. These films have sucked, and they've gotten suckier. And even if Spielberg is the best, we'll say in 2 generations or something, yeah, he ain't that good, right? He ain't that good. But he might have represented an upgrade from the degradation that had been going on. That I think is what we misread all the time, not just in movies or music, but all kinds of things. We just misread what's going on. There's a lot of people, like I could talk about the software industry forever, but there's a lot of people that misidentify what went wrong in software and when and how. And I'm like, no, you're all wrong about that. I was there, and this is what I know the most about. This thing I know the best is software engineering, the methods of software engineering, how to code, right? I'm not the best coder, but I know it better than anything else that I know. So no, the reasons people give are just wrong. They're just, nope, that's not what happened. You can't blame it on Agile. You can't blame it only on a flood of software engineers. You can't blame it on, right? There's all these technological things you can't blame it on, as much as Paul Kingsnorth would like to tell you otherwise. He's just wrong about it. I have a video about why he's wrong, by the way, so you can check that out on the channel. Paul Kingsnorth is just wrong. Everybody loves to blame. They take the Heidegger route. Heidegger was an idiot. He wasn't saying anything interesting. Just move on with your life. Find a thinker to engage with. He ain't one of them. You know, go back to Plato or something. He didn't get past Plato, so he'll be fine. But there's something about the degradation in movies, degradation in music, that's, you know, it's part of the larger lack of cohesion or decoherence of everything, right? Everything. And like, what do you think we can do other than engage in church music all the time, which obviously, as I pointed out in the beginning, might not be an option for people with the deficit of poetic way of informing the world. Like, what do we do to get them, we'll say, stepped carefully back into, we'll say, music that points them higher or links them to something bigger than they are now?
Everybody should just buy my albums.
Perfect answer. I love it.
No, I mean,
that is true.
No, I think we have to meet people where they are, and I mean that's probably not gonna be me. My stuff maybe speaks more to people who are, you know, further inside. But then also on the other hand, I don't know how beloved my punk rock songs about the dog-headed saint would be by some Russian bishop somewhere. You know, it's it's so. Give me a second. I
like that idea.
Well, we're gonna. Yeah. No, we cannot. People, you know, what we would want is to have people introduced into the highest form of communion and the highest form of mysteries, right? Mm-hmm. Like we would want people to ultimately be able to find out where God is truly centered, and then have them, you know, join that. And if they can't either yet or at all, then we want to meet them at a point where they can get an intimation of
right,
you know, of the love that ultimately comes, you know, flows out from God towards us. And I mean, that is, we talked earlier, I mentioned Frank Turner's song, like Glory Hallelujah, right? And you have it there even. I mean, I think that it's ultimately probably it's gonna mislead people, and it's gonna it's also going to cement them into this, well, we have each other thing, and that's not good, because you always have to keep moving. But but at that moment where people can only receive that, they can only say there's no God, there's no heaven, there's no hell, but we're all in this together, right? If that is in that moment in time, if that is the thing where they can get a glimpse at what love is, then I mean, then that's beautiful. And so that is why I think I mean, there's a lot to criticize, but that is why I think that the way that things are right now is good in a way, because we have people. There are opportunities for people to perceive this, and it is ultimately up to them and God whether they can move any closer or whether they want to move any closer. And it should always be up to them. There's no, I mean, if you everybody and their grandmother has watched Breaking Bad, and there's this one scene where I think it's in the Fly episode where Walt is talking to Jesse about how, like, his problems with Skylar, and he says there must be some combination of words. I just have to find it where I can make her understand. And that is, I mean, that's unbelievably tragic, right? But it's also, that's sometimes that's what we're trying to do, is like, kind of, if we manipulate sounds enough or something like that, then maybe we can force people to do those steps, and we can't. I mean, we always, there's what?
That's the agenosis problem. Propositions is the thing that moves the world. No.
Yeah. You have to, I mean, we have to kind of, I mean, ultimately you have to accept that if you cannot bring someone to something, the only one who can do that is this guy over here. And everything, like, you can try to not fuck it up. I think that's the most that we can do here. And then we have to accept everybody's agency, and we can see if they want to move further, if they can move further, or if not. And then we accept that too, and we give it to Christ.
So that to me, the problem's there from my mind. And I don't know if you saw my talk with Derek, which is awesome. We're going to do it.
Not yet. I really want to.
Oh no, you'll like it. Yeah. My problem with that is that sounds very evangelical, and you're leaving it sort of, it's like this Pentecostalism, like, oh, you get this personal interface with with thing you can't explain, and that's God, and then you're one more step up the ladder or something. That's a very Protestant way of thinking about how that all works. And I can't help thinking that the problem with that is that when it happens outside of a place where things can get tied together through things like music, right, and also something vaguely liturgical, then it's more often going to stray into start your own religion territory. Because if you look, even if you do a cursory examination of, like, the Great Awakening movements in the United States, or pre-United States, that happened way before we were actually freed from the bondage of those English dogs. I think the people are just as likely to start their own church, right? Because they feel like, oh, I had this personal experience, and it taught me that the Bible should be, interpreted this way. And I think it's that lack of, it's that reliance on that one, we'll say, isolated, dissected experience to lead you straight to where you need to go, that we're partly suffering from. Well, let's say it's not the main problem, but it's a partial problem. We're not reintegrating or able to integrate it to begin with. That would be more meaning crisis, with all the other components required to get there, we'll say, right? Because it could be Jordan Peterson has the experience. Maybe he's on mushrooms or something, because apparently that's the thing that he wants to do. Although maybe he's learned his lesson.
I think so.
And then, the next thing you inadvertently start a religion, right? Which, even John Vervaeke fell into that. He had the religion that's not a religion thing. And then he kind of figured out, that's a total psyop. Even the term, like, should tell you everything you need to know. The religion, it's not a religion. Okay. That you're destroying identity. You're identifying against, right? And when you identify against, all you're doing is saying you're not that one thing. Great. That's not helpful, right? And people are so used to other people identifying against, we don't even see it anymore, even though it's the primary way people, quote, identify is that method. And I think the thing that music could bring to us, hopefully, if we say listen to more, well, I guess I'll just call it transcendent or transcendence-inducing music. Like if you're not taking a bath every once a year with Beethoven 6 on the headphones, you know, I don't know what you're doing. Like things like that. Like you got to have your moments, right? Which again is not to say don't listen to Darude Sandstorm and you need to get an insane amount of work done, because also do that, right? You know, or when you're fighting the depths of your freaking addiction, you know, listen to Weak and Powerless by A Perfect Circle. Like I'm about all this stuff. All right, but don't get rid of that higher engagement. Like don't not walk into the church and listen listen to the chorus practice or whatever, right? Like the choir rather. Like you have to have those engagements. You have to listen to the pipe organ. You have to have these engagements. I think people are now, because they have so much quote freedom, and which just amounts to too much choice, a flood of choice. They aren't required and aren't willing, and maybe partly not able to engage with that anymore. And those are the things that bring it together. So it's all well and good and great, and maybe required, although I doubt that, but maybe required to have one of these. We'll call them ecstatic experiences. That's the technical term, as far as I can tell. You know, where the pathway is at least opened up for them, without the binding agents, without the ability to tie it all together, or without the ability to navigate. You know, maybe you don't have the music in the moment, but that music's in you, right? Like Beethoven's Sixth is in me, because obviously it's best possible piece of music, as everybody knows. You know, it's in me, and so you know, because it's in me, when the other stuff hits, bang, now I can put it together. And like if there's one sort of weird thing about me that was the most weird, it's not only that I notice things that are going to become relevant later without any way to think that that's true, and I bump into things that don't make any sense, but it's that I put them together later. It's the put them together part. It's like, oh, one way to, you know, like I just go, you know, as we went over earlier, like read on microfiche a bunch of contemporary stuff about World War II, and then put all these things together. Like, well, obviously this is what was going on in that. So no one wrote that down. It was written down. It just wasn't written down with those relationships, right? And so if you watch the history series that I do with Adam's excellent. So you should watch those anyway. You'll see how we do that. Like we're tying things together in a way. We're showing you these threads through history that other people won't show you. They're not new facts. They're not like, oh, original research. I went out and did some archaeology and, you know, found a book in a library. No, I'm just taking the facts that were already there, that were in many cases given to me, usually by multiple sources, and I'm putting together in a way that hasn't been highlighted, at least. I mean, I'm sure other people have done it, but I haven't seen it. And that's really important. And that's one of the things that I think that I get from music, right? Is a sense for how to do that well, and when it's done poorly. And so when I listen to a guy like Gavin Ortland, I go, this guy's just not good at what he's doing. And he may be way better than most of the people trying to do that. Also, the bar is very low, I would say. And he's just not good at it, right? He's not that good at it. He's good at enchanting people and convincing people that things didn't happen that definitely happened. But he's not very good at making his arguments. His style of argumentation is terrible, and it's completely incorrect. And he has to rely on, saying untrue things in order to get his point across, which is a good hint that your point is wrong. It might not be, but the odds are not with you on that one. And, what do we do about that, right? Because you can't just let people see bad logic in play. You can't let people see bad arguments in play if they can't discern that they're bad. That's it. Like, if you don't have the discernment, if you don't know why everybody copies Led Zeppelin pretty much and Pink Floyd, like if you don't understand that, what do you actually understand about music, right? Because, and I don't want to reduce it to those two, because there's more, but also those are the two giants, right? They're the two juggernauts in the musical arena, as far as I can tell. You know, what do you know good from bad music? Like, are you absolutely sure that the stuff you like is any good at all? What is the standard that you're using if you don't think that Led Zeppelin is an exceptional band that, you know, basically except for a song here or there, you know, no one's reached those heights. No one's reached those heights, right?
I think that two things. So first one, I think that in the way that you and I approached the thing that I just said, and then your comment on it, is very much highlighting also our difference in opinion on the papacy, interestingly enough.
Absolutely.
And I would, without going into the actual papacy question, but staying with the what would you say, like the, you know, your moments of intimation or whatever, of something, of love, of something beautiful. I think that it is, I think that it's, we cannot forego the, I'm not arguing for people to make up their own stuff. And clearly not, but like also I don't think that I'm implicitly arguing for that, because if we try to have more control over how people find their way to God, then I believe that we're not respecting the image of God in those people. And so I agree.
I agree with you there. That's not my nitpick.
Okay.
My nitpick is, you know, so one way to look at this is to just, there's a frame I like to use that actually seems to work, and I can tell it works because it really wrangles people a lot. Mm-hmm. The problem with so-called Protestantism is they have fewer tools. They just have fewer tools, fewer abilities, mm-hmm. right? One less archetype. They don't have the divine feminine archetype. They don't have the tools of tradition, right? They have tools that they can say, oh, these look like tradition because it's been longer than my lifespan. It's like, but that's not a deep tradition. Maybe it might become a tradition, but you know, because it looks like tradition and smells like tradition doesn't mean tradition, because tradition requires a long time, right? And so there's nothing in Protestantism that has lasted a long time, right? You get 30, 50, maybe 100 years out of anything before it splits up and changes, and right. And so fewer tools. When you have a world with fewer tools, and when you have a world where people are not required, because of the enablement of technology, to engage with those tools, to use those tools, to participate with those things, then I think you run into the Great Awakening. I think that, you know, people starting their own churches, and and you know, I mean, Peterson has been very careful. Vervaeke was trying to be very careful and screwed it up, right, about starting their own churches by accident, right, because it's super easy to do when you're in that, to use Vervaeke's term, arena, right? When that's the game you're playing, you're talking about these non-material things. The odds that you're going to slide other people into creating their own religion just go way, way up, because they're not being required, because technology's enabled this and people have participated. That's the problem. People participated in enabling other people to not have to discern between good music and bad music. Because if you have enough money, you can buy your way onto the charts. Right? I mean, that's always been true in the United States after the big music boom. Like, once money was involved, and you know, we'll say not good church-going folk got involved in that industry and just wanted to extract as much money as they could, they would let anybody put out a song, and they would try to make that song better, right? Because they wanted the success. But if the song wasn't a good song and they made it catchier, because you can do that, that's not better. That's worse for everybody, right? So that's that's them lining their pockets at the expense of everybody else's soul in some cases, I would argue.
Sure.
Right. And so what do we do about that situation? Like, what do we do about people who, again, are stuck like in a meaning crisis where they don't have the tools, or they don't have the need for the tools, and so they won't engage with the tools, and so they think they can tell, say, a good song from a bad song, which, you know, maybe they can't, maybe they suck at it, or they think they can tell when someone's swindling them, right? Like, oh, we're going to take rockets to Mars and people are going to live on Mars. It's like, what I can tell you, one thing that definitely isn't going to happen: people are not going to live on Mars. That's not going to happen. Right? You have to genetically modify a human being to live on Mars. And now you don't have people anymore. I don't know what you have. I'm not saying it's better or worse. I'm saying
it's something else.
The statement's a lie. The statement's obviously incorrect. I don't think it's deliberate. I don't think it's malicious, but it's also obviously a lie. There's no question about that scientifically. That is a lie.
Yeah.
So people don't know that. Like, people can't tell. And so even the great Elon Musk may be making, lying to people inadvertently, we'll say, which I believe is the case. I can't prove it. I don't know his mind, but I believe that's the case. And then Spielberg comes along and helps him out, or maybe he's the product of Spielberg and he doesn't know it.
Probably also. I think that, okay, so then then I think I'm gonna make my position just more personal, more restricted to me. I do not feel comfortable with judging whether a person has or does not have the tools that are necessary to do the proper thing with that, that glimpse that they got. I have tried to judge that, and I have failed miserably. And it's done damage to the relationships with the people that I tried that with, let's say. Not irreparable, right? Like, we're all friends, we're all helping each other become better people. But yeah, truly. But it's not my place. It might be someone else's place. I don't. Yeah. So it might be someone else's place. Maybe, maybe if I instead of me, if I send Father Stephen DeYoung to talk to someone about stuff like that, maybe he actually can. But I certainly can't properly. Right. And so, so the point that I feel comfortable standing in is taking that type of authority out, at least for myself. And I will just, I will try to share things when people want me to share things. That's because I feel like that's. I mean, I'm still not very good at that either. At least not with everybody. But right. But that is, I mean, that's the level of participation that you have to be able to, you have to be willing to give. Right, like you have to be willing to try, because that's ultimately right. Like, God doesn't. So the people who are criticizing specifically Christianity, where they're like, well, why don't you do stuff yourself? You only pray to your God about it. Or it's like, oh, you're sick. You have to go to a doctor. You cannot just pray about your illness. It's like, who in their right mind would just pray about their illness? You obviously go to a doctor. And you pray about it. You pray for your doctors. You pray for your family. Yeah, and you pray for yourself. I mean, that's pretty obvious. And then so there has to be a level of participation. And I truly believe that if you do what you can, or at least if you attempt to do what you can, hopefully, Lord have mercy, then God will do the thing that you couldn't do. And in whatever way that is ultimately, right? Like, I mean, I would love if God was just like, here's all your struggles removed, and then now you can do the things that right here. You're a successful musician here. You're a composer there, and don't worry about anything else. That'd be great, I think. But maybe it wouldn't. Maybe it would. Whatever God decides on that. But
we could try a petition. What do you think?
We'll send it up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Let's see about it. No,
Very
but that's the yeah. Well, no, I'm kidding. But that's it, right? Like you
Yeah.
kind of I yeah. I mean that's my and that's also in the broader. That's also the view that I ultimately have on the church. I mean that is why I think that single human authority is not a good thing. That's why I'm very happy about us having the equal bishops, and then we have a spokesperson among those, which is the ecumenical patriarch, which is the first among equals. That's how we that's how we see it, and that is how because that to me that seems to, if you have a structure like that, that seems to necessitate the leaving open of the of the actual acknowledged influence of God in the whole structure, and that is yeah.
Very Roman, very post Caesar Rome, first among equals. Yeah, yeah, the manifestation of Rome in the church. Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I think again, I think the problem is that for people who believe they could be individuals, which is an impossible situation, by the way, and are still trying to do that.
You're a person. You're a person. You're not an individual. You're a person.
And that persons are connected to nature, to themselves, their inner selves, we'll say, and to other persons, right? So
yes.
important. Right, and they're embedded in a pre-created order, like that happened already. Like there's not much you can do about it. But for people that are that far down the ladder, that are missing that many tools, and that are striving downward, like I'm trying to be an individual, I'm trying to break free from the world, because this is the same statement. Like in order to be an individual, you have to break free from everything around you. That's what you have to do. Whether you realize it, we'll say consciously or rationally or not. That's how that works. It doesn't work any other way. And they need tools. And I don't necessarily think those tools need to be church involved at all, actually, because we are actually dog-headed. Like we're in the dog-headed realm here, right? Like we're all about right and appropriate, right? Without measure comes war. Very musical, brilliant.
True.
Brilliant words that Sally let me edit into more brilliance. I must admit, her original take was just too wordy. It's terrible. She had all the same words there, though. They were all her words. They weren't mine. But boy, did they need trimming down. Yeah, there's a way in which if you don't have music, if you don't have higher music, if you're not listening to Beethoven, like, come on, what are you doing? Right? If you're not exposed to these things, because there's no, it's not even a requirement. There's no availability. Like the one thing I learned from the Verviki community that I built was there was a tremendous hunger for them to engage in something more than materialism was ever going to be able to give them. That hunger is there. I think Jordan Peterson demonstrates that quite well too, right? Just he has a way of expressing it and getting people into it that is unrivaled right now, right? Like, it'd be fair to say he's like the Billy Graham for our age or something, only he's got a different set of tricks and he's doing a very different thing. And it's not complete though, right? It needs to be completed. He's dropping people off at a place and they can't get any further. And so, for me, our project, the Mark of Wisdom project is still, how do we create more tools and give them to people who will go to their local communities and use those tools to get more people to do, higher things or something, to get more people engaged in what the higher thing is. I did want to, Sally Joe, the dog-headed is some art with some applied navigation, thus making it meta art. This is Sally poking me. I know where you live, Sally. Just remember that. Maybe you don't have to worry about your sleep tonight because it takes a while to get there. But tomorrow night, I would. So yeah, I hate that word so much. It's unbelievable how much I hate that word.
Meta.
Oh, I have a whole video on it. Terrible word. Talk about identification against. All you're saying is, here's the thing, not that. It's like, thanks. It's real helpful. She lives in Meta, Carolina. See, these are my friends. These are my friends. Unbelievable. Good thing Christopher's not here. He'd probably make it worse. He's really good at that. He knows what he's doing. Yeah, I mean, if people don't have the tools available, right, and the tools they do have are more or evangelical tools. Sally calls them evangelis. I thought that was perfect. Artists are brilliant when they're brilliant. It's true. Yeah, if all you have are evangeli tools, then you're going to get more of what we've got, because I think that's part of why we got here. Like, it correlates pretty heavily. There's a cyclical rise and fall since, particularly in the U.S. That's where I live. Sorry, I can't speak very well to Europe. There's this rise and fall of this Great Awakening cycle, right? This pattern, and we're still stuck in that. We haven't made that, made it out of that in essence here. And some of that is definitely reflecting back to Europe, because the quote great success, which I think is just a misunderstanding, and I went over this in Echoes of the Past. It's one of the history videos with Adam. I think that the Europe has been trying to copy our success, our economic success, our political success, right? The EU is sort of copying both of those things poorly, I would argue, because they just understand them, right?
Yeah. Purposefully.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, but I think they misunderstand them. I mean, most Americans don't understand enough American history to understand that we have two entirely different and separate governmental systems that are governed by different rules from the same document. Like everything in the Constitution does not apply to the states, and everything in the Constitution does not apply to the federal government. Some things only apply to the states, and some things only apply to the federal government. Just understanding that, like, completely breaks your idea of, well, what is the government in the United States? We have two major different forms of governance. Forms. Yeah. They're not even close to each other, right? Yeah. That's why federalism is such a problem when you consolidate power in the federal system. The federal system has some weaknesses, right? Obvious ones that were designed in, by the way, which is why the states have different powers, right? And then the states are 50 different governance experiments.
Yeah.
Europe doesn't have anything like that, right? That's not how it's set up. It never was. So,
yeah. I mean, we do have the overarching government of the EU that's trying to gain more power, and we do have, the different, let's say, flavors of governments in the countries, but it's clearly not. I mean, that is why I keep. That's why I keep praising America for the way that it's set up politically, because I do believe that at least the attempt is a very good one. In the, all inside of the logic of the Protestant mind, let's say, and also the Enlightenment and so on and so forth. So there's of course there's criticisms to be made about that outside of it, but inside of that headspace, that's a genius move. And it's also it has protected America from certain dangers that are tied to actual tyrannical what is it, like attempts or whatever
behaviors.
So behaviors. Yeah. So yeah, no, I mean that's pretty obvious. It's a nice form of integration.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, and I think that just the tools to understand some of the concepts we've been talking about, like, I don't think they're there. I think, and I think I grew up with a bunch of them, either through the schools that I went to, because that was definitely a factor, right? It wasn't a zero factor, and through 4-H club, Boy Scouts, things like that, for sure. I mean, these sailing, going outside, creating dams, damming up entire parking lots, flooding people. I think that's I think that a bunch of people didn't grow up with those things, and they don't have access to them now as the result of not having access to them when they were young, Dale Farron's work points at that, and music is part of that. Like if you don't listen to beautiful music that points, at least orients you towards the highest binding principle or something, then you're not going to understand how to bind things together. You're going to get stuck in this post-Protestant, the government is actually in charge of the church pattern that was explicit. I mean, that's what they were trying to do. They didn't, they weren't like, we're going to get rid of the Pope and replace him with nothing. They were like, we're going to get rid of the Pope and replace him with your king. Whatever place you're at, that's what we're replacing the Pope with. So the papal powers don't go away. They just get moved. And that doesn't seem to have worked out well. I mean, I could be wrong, but also it's been kind of a long time and we haven't had good results so far. So maybe that doesn't work out so well.
I think I think we're in the process of figuring it out. I mean, that's also something, by the way, that my girlfriend keeps pointing out to me, is that you know, I'm very quick to criticize you know, the failures of modernism and the failures of the Enlightenment and so on and so forth. And then she likes to remind me of the fact that these faulty steps apparently are necessary. I mean, I don't think they're necessary in the ultimate way, but they're necessary in the way that we're, as humans, are figuring shit out. And so the example that I would like to give here is that Adam and Eve didn't have to rebel. It wasn't necessary. It's not like God planned in that now I'm gonna make them rebel or something like that. There was a better path to do all of that, but they didn't. And so in his infinite mercy, he is adjusting his plan, let's say, to us so that he can still save us, even though we actively work against that, which is, I mean, how lucky are we to have a loving God? That is wonderful.
Yeah, exactly. All right, my friend, I am exhausted, and there are tacos that I can't have until
then hurry
making them. So, let's wrap it up. What do you know? I mean, I thought that was beautiful where you left it off. Anything you want to add, or do you want to set something up for the next conversation? If you're still willing to talk to me anymore, now that we have decided
even more now. Yeah, no, even more now. I think that was our most fun conversation, actually, because I think that it is because we're somewhat went into it spontaneously. We brushed so much stuff, and then we were able to tie that in at least somewhat competently into the overarching topic. So no, I don't think that I have something to add to that. I mean, one thing, go buy my albums, and the order in which you should immerse yourself in them is first do Who Dares to Say, which is the Jordan Peterson album, which sets you up. Then do Pentecost, and then do The Future is Symbolic. After that, soon, Lord willing, I'll be giving you one that is featuring first time Flo-Fi appearance of Father Stephen DeYoung, and a big collaboration also with Jordan Peterson in that. He's speaking about the bodily resurrection and the way in which Nietzsche can help us understand it in a better way. So we're redeeming Nietzsche a bit here, and that's going to be great. I tried out some new stuff. I half purposefully limited myself with many of those songs to very little equipment, so that I would try out new stuff with the things that I had in my computer, and interesting songs came out of that. There's some callbacks. That's going to be great. We're probably also going to do a talk about that if you're willing to, when it's out.
Yes.
Soon I'll put out the first single from that album. It's going to be glorious. And after that, I have all the stuff that I need from the last Symbolic World Summit. That's gonna be. There's so much stuff. I mean, not album wise. I have all the recordings, and as soon as I got this album out, I'm gonna start cutting it up and working on it. And I think I already know what I want to do, because Jonathan decided to put some real fun stuff into his closing speech. Goosebumps, absolutely crazy. And I think I'm gonna do something cool with that. I was thinking of going like in a Illuminati parody way with it. Maybe. I'm gonna have to talk to Sally if at any point she's gonna be able to do some art for that, because I think that's gonna be very funny. And so that's my self promo here. Also go watch the Backrooms movie. It's a great movie. Support this. Hollywood is dying, and that's a good thing. And we want to enable a new era of cinema. And on that note, go subscribe to Logos Cinema. It's going to be the best decision you're making this week. And go help support us to be able to put out actual Christian content that is not God is dead cringe levels, but actual good cinematography. And that's gonna be a lot of fun. Also, please keep me in your prayers.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
And if you want other music, you can check out Dirt Poor Robins. We have a
Yes.
conversation on the channel with Neil that we did earlier.
Yes, only if you already listened to my stuff. And also
listen to 2More stuff first. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. It's very, very important. I'm not as old as Neil. Neil is very old man, and so you should be. No, I'm kidding.
I'll invite you to Florida, dude. Come on.
No, I'm having fun. Go listen to Dirt Poor Robins. They're an absolute epiphany.
Yeah, and look, the point of this channel, and I hope you all liked and subscribed and all that nonsense, because we could certainly use it with all the crazy shadow banning, is to realize that the world needs you to be better. And if you want to make the world better, right? If you want the world to be better, all you need to do is make yourself better. And we'll see what conversation we get to have next time. Thank you so much for doing this, even though it was kind of last minute and all that. And clearly craziness ensued. And listen, everybody, take care of yourselves, which 2More has not been doing, and each other. And then we can make a better world. That's how you do it. Goodbye, everybody. Have a blast. See you next time.